Oh, we got this too.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, November 18, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1087.
This is No Agenda.
With traffic and weather together, sports on the threes, and broadcasting live from the Garden of Amsterdam in the loft in Laden. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the Zephyr just went by. It's smoky, by the way. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
I didn't expect to cut it so close. So were we in time with the Zephyr or what?
We started the whole thing just as the Zephyr appeared. It's a 10-car train, too, for some reason.
Some people must just be thinking, what the hell are these guys doing?
These guys
Oh, my God. Can you see that, Zephyr?
Yes, I'm still here in the lowlands, Gitmo Nation lowlands in the Netherlands. And, since your newsletter kind of made a little joke.
What do you mean? I like the way you say Jew.
Joke? Your joke.
So there must have been something about it that annoyed you.
No, it didn't annoy me. It was about sports. You said Adam will be checking in from Europe. No he'll have weather and news and no sports. I'm like, actually, I don't have one. I have two sports stories for you.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course, I would never have known this if it wasn't really big news, particularly here in the Netherlands.
They may not have even been at this year's World Cup, but the Netherlands are red hot right now, as their 2-0 win over world champions France proves. The shockwave has rippled around the UEFA Nations League. Having also beaten Germany, the win sees the 2014 World Cup winners tumble down into the league's Division 2. We have players with exceptional technical experience and also power and speed. We know why we won against Germany and why we won against France. On Monday, they play at home with only pride at stake. Just a draw would be enough to see Ronald Koeman's team advance to meet other group winners next June.
So this is the UEFA Nations League competition. This is a big deal in Europe, and the Netherlands have not only trounced Germany, but they beat the World Cup holder France 2-0. 2-0 with the final goal being a penalty, a panenka. I don't know if you've ever heard this term. So right at the whistle, right at the very end of all time, there was a foul occurred. The guy takes a penalty, which is just the last second of the game. And, typically with soccer, the goalie's going to choose a side he's going to dive toward, and the kicker is going to choose a side. And if those two match up, the goalie usually has it. But there's this one.
Wow.
Yeah, wait, there's this one move called the panenka. And that is, you don't really kick the ball, you just kind of scoop it with your foot and lob it right in the middle. And so the goalie is on the ground in the corner he chose, and the ball goes whoop, poop, 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 and kind of poops right in. So it was a total humiliation.
At the very last second, they scored the second goal. Yes. So how did that change the outcome of the game?
No, it was just for the humiliation. It was pure the humiliation of it. But here's my question. In the United States of Europe, where nationalism is a bad word, where there's no nations, no borders, why do we have all of our guys in each country dress up in a color and go fight for our nation in the Nations League? Surely this atrocity must stop.
I think they had to put an end to it.
I mean, it's when you think about it.
Make up your mind, people.
When you think about it, it's like, wow. I have to say, though, all of the online dictionaries in the past week, maybe 2 weeks, but of course I didn't check them all. How many times have we gone into an online dictionary and have we looked up the definition of nationalism? At least 3-4 times.
Every other show, it seemed, with a different dictionary.
Well, all the dictionaries have now done a switch where the second or third definition is now the number one definition. Here's Merriam-Webster, which I know we read previously when looking up the definition of nationalism. The number one definition, as of today, nationalism, excessive favoritism towards one's own country.
They dropped the word excessive in there.
Yeah. And synonyms.
Why would it be excessive? What is favoritism to one's own country without the word excessive?
So you know how the dictionary has that definition, and then under it has a little line. So it says excessive favoritism towards one's own country, and then a little asterisk. Nazism's almost epic nationalism appealed to downtrodden Germans still suffering the humiliation of being defeated in World War I. So they're really bringing the Nazi thing right into it, right off the top.
Shameless.
Why? I'm okay. I'm okay with it now. Like, okay, finally you changed the dictionary. I guess we all agree there was a meeting somewhere. And I'm sure what happened is all the dictionary people were going, damn, man, look at how they're defining nationalism. Not just Trump. Oh, wow, wait a minute. There's Macron. Oh, there's Trudeau. Holy crap, we better change it. And they did.
That's pretty much, well, there's activists within the companies.
Oh, of course. Because number two is
make a lot of noise. You can't take it anymore. And say, okay, what are we going to do?
Well, here's the number two definition, which used to be number one. Love and support for one's country. American nationalism is often most visible during 4th of July celebrations. Anyway, as I was looking at all the online dictionaries, I realized the word that we used to use, maybe even just a couple of years back, was jingoism. That, I think, is more accurate.
Well, we never really.
No, it was a word for a while. I don't know if it was during Obama's administration. It wasn't
a word because it did show up, but nobody got it, so they stopped using it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't us using it.
I remember during one, and I don't know if it was the second Obama election or if it was more recent. I just remember. I mean, I did no research on it, but somehow in the back of my mind, I remember jingoism was a word. I remember you explaining what jingoism was.
That's a possibility. I did that, but it wasn't words that you or I used.
No. Oh, no. Because I have to, at the minute I say jingoism, I think of Jenga, and it just doesn't feel right. It's the wrong word for me. Anyway, one more sports story, John, from Gitmo Nation, the Lowlands. We have the huge dart championship. Yes, bonus story. Huge dart championship. The Dutch are very good at darts.
Yeah, very good at darts.
We've had some. Well, this is a big deal in Europe. You can scoff, but I'm here. I'm reporting on what's important to the culture. No, I am good at darts. You're good at darts.
Yeah.
180. You get a lot of those? Well, there was the final match. The Dutch guy lost, but he had a very peculiar reason. He was extremely distracted by something that happened, and he blamed his co-finalist, I think is a Scot. Now, you're going to have to try and focus your ears to listen to what I think the Scotsman, I think it was a Scotsman, what he's saying here. But it's now called, well, there's a name for it.
Just spoke to Wesley, and besides that, he said you were a class player, and you let him alive in the first session. He said that it was smelly on the stage.
I thought Wesley had farted on stage. Did he?
No. Well, I think he thinks you did it.
You can put your finger up the arse, there'll be no smell there. I thought he had shit, and I went, that's dirty. It was bad.
It was bad?
It was bad. Yeah. It was a stink. I thought it was him. And he started playing better. I went, must have needed to get some wind out.
Yeah. And he thought it was you?
Oh, no. Hands up. Swear on my kid's life. So help me God. Nothing crossed.
So this is now what's known as Fartgate.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
As the Dutch guy says, it smelled so bad that he was distracted, and that's why he lost the game. And the other guy is saying, no, I think he did it. So they're actually blaming each other for the losing. It's Fartgate. No one really knows the truth. The stench. And that is the top of the news.
Wow, you nailed it for sports news. We should get a show.
I need a little jingle.
From Adam's sports news.
I knew you'd appreciate my sports topics.
Yeah,
they're entertaining.
I think you dug them up just because of that content of the newsletter.
Well, yes, the newsletter did make me do it. Of course, we have the big Black Pete controversy. The holy man, St. Nicholas, arrived on his steamboat with his Black Pete's yesterday. We've been tracking this story on the No Agenda show for 5 years.
Where does the steamboat go?
After it, it comes from Spain.
What route does it take?
Oh, it just up the coast.
It goes around and comes around. It doesn't go up any bunch of canals through France and all that.
It comes up
Which
through
I think you can get from France through the canal system up to Rome.
No,
and
he does not. It's a rather big ship. So, no. And he's got a horse on it. You know, anyway.
What's the horse doing on the ship? And what's the point?
St. Nicholas. So he doesn't have a sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. He has a white horse. And he's on the ship on the horse. So on the top of the deck, he's on a white horse. And he looks like the Pope with his hat and his staff and all that.
Huh.
So this is a very old tradition. We've been tracking for the past 5 years. This controversy. No, I looked it up. I find clips that we had from 5 years ago. Here's the thing. A reminder that this really only started when, I forget the woman's name, from the United Nations Human Rights Office, whose sole job is to get reparations paid to mainly islands such as, well, you look at Indonesia and Haiti and, anywhere where slaves were created and grown and taken away by the evil West.
Well, I don't think Indonesia qualifies, but Haiti for sure.
I think the Dutch had a lot of stuff going on in Indonesia.
Oh.
You may want to look that up.
Some Dutch thing. Okay,
yeah.
That's possible.
Well, that's why.
I know that they stole the cuisine from Indonesia. But.
Yes, well, that's why this was happening in the Netherlands in particular. And it was just to get money, and it started this whole conversation. Here's how bad it got. Where the night before the Sint was supposed to arrive, and I might want to remind everybody, is
this now? You're talking today or 5 years
yesterday?
ago?
No, yesterday, the day before yesterday. Yeah, so the evening before yesterday, in the Netherlands, whenever it's December and or November, December, and he's coming, and all the kids are going to be all they're excited.
Is this the real reason you stayed there? Is because you really like to reminisce about this character?
It's very interesting from a social standpoint. What's happening here? So what I'm trying to get to is that at 7:00 we have the news on the Dutch public broadcasting stations. There's 3 stations, 3 channels, and they do the news. At the same time, on one of the stations, that for these few weeks, they replace the news with the Sinterklaasjournaal. So it's the St. Nicholas news. And, the kids all gather around, they watch it. And, of course, it's a fairy tale about he's coming. Oh, there he is. We see the steamboat. For the first time ever, the ratings of the Sinterklaasjournaal, the fake news about a fake guy on coming from Spain, was significantly larger than the people watching the actual news report. And this has become a national discussion where if you don't agree that this is racist, you are, of course, a racist. I mean, it's just like the U.S. It's a different topic, but the racist word is just being thrown around very easily. And here's what's even more interesting. As I was looking back through all past 5 years of this controversy, there was more actual physical fighting and protesting 5 years ago than this year. Even though the topic was the top of all news and it's at the front of every newspaper. Everybody has an opinion, but I think it's just everything's online. It's all on Twitter and TV talk shows, pretty much. The real protest wasn't too bad. They arrested people, and there were people on one side yelling, kick out Zwarte Piet. Literally, they have an organization here, kick out Zwarte Piet. And the other side, it's parents going, ooh, and the kids are walking in the middle, and it's horrible what's happening. The kids are being terrorized.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, yes, it is. This is why I like to talk about it. So it's been nuts. But as you know, the High Court said no problem, can do whatever you want. It's not racist. This is a tradition. And I have to say, I didn't see a lot of the rainbow Pete's or the came down the chimney Pete, who's only he scuffed black because it was just soot from the chimney. All these other politically correct ideas. Pete's, yes, yeah. Politically correct Pete's. So it's interesting to see how the outrage has grown online, grown in the media. Of course, that feeds each other. But in real life, people didn't really get up and go protest. Which, if you think about it, is a very odd occurrence.
This phenomenon of This is the phenomenon of the internet, where people, if they blow off some steam on the internet, they think they've done their job.
Yep. That's my conclusion,
We've gone
too.
through this for years and years. We've seen all these ideas. Oh, don't let this is going to ruin the net if they put this law through. Let's protest. And people, they don't write letters. They just bitch and moan online, and then it goes through anyway. And they say, well, we tried as hard as we could.
That's exactly right. I see that. I think that's the same that's going on in the U.S. More of the vitriol and the anger and the hate is all on online, and it's just really not spilling over. And I think people get tired of it too. And you can just turn it off. And you walk away. I'm like, okay, I got my frustration out. I'm done. So it may be a good thing in a way.
Well, I think it's a good and a bad thing. If you
Yes.
actually have to take action for something that is important, you're not going to do it. You're just going to bitch and moan online and whatever. California is the perfect example of that, the high-tech state that it is. They just overrun by Democrats getting their own way. And it's so different than, for example, France. I have a clip. And I'll just play this clip on the gas tax in France.
Oh, yeah, I was hearing about this. Hold on a second. Yes, here we go.
In France, at least one person is dead and dozens injured after protests against the country's increasing gas taxes. The demonstrators wore yellow vests and blocked roads across France in an effort to send a message to President Emmanuel Macron. A woman trying to make her way through the crowd in a car panicked, hitting the group. She's now in custody. Macron implemented the taxes to decrease fossil fuel consumption. Protesters argue that the taxes place an undue burden on poor citizens.
And, in fact, the taxes do create an undue burden for citizens in the United States, especially in California. We have a lot of poor. We have a lot of poor. But nobody cares. The Democrats put it through for the same two purposes. I mean, for fixing roads, even though the old taxes were for fixing roads, but they stole that money.
What they use it for?
Fixing,
they stole it.
They're going to steal this money too, but they're fixing roads and to keep people from using cars in the first place, which is more subtle. And everyone, this is no good. We got to repeal the gas tax, and then it got passed anyway. Nobody wants to.
I have a little more exciting clip about the same topic.
Over 200,000 protesters have blocked roads and motorways across France, causing many accidents and one death. The Interior Ministry said 227 people were injured in clashes with the police and as drivers tried to get around the blockades. The grassroots protest movement, dubbed the Yellow Vests, targeted motorway slip roads, tunnel entrances and airport access roads. 38 people were taken into custody. The protesters were angry at higher fuel taxes and President Emmanuel Macron's economic policies, which they say have made them poorer.
So there was kind of a ruckus there, too.
Yeah, well, they showed the ruckus on CBS, but they didn't make it as exciting as you like to put it.
That was Euro
clip
news.
is that one, which had more sound effects and it was sweetened.
It was
and had a British guy giving the announcement, which always makes it more exciting.
I just read about a scam that the IRS is pulling, which I was very surprised by this. They've changed the way they calculate inflation for the 2019 tax regulations or whatever. It's not a law. It's just the IRS determining something. And by changing the way you calculate the inflation, and this goes to, certain deductions like, the one general deduction you can take is $24,000 if you're a couple. What is that?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Okay. It's the number of these standard deduction, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, standard deduction.
The way they've done it is that because it's based upon inflation and how much you made, and I'm not the right guy either. But the conclusion of this article, which I put in the show notes, is that because they changed the way they calculate inflation, you're actually going to wind up paying more tax in about a year and a half. As this magic formula starts to make it all groovy for the IRS. It's like a hidden little tax they put in there just by a simple math change.
Hey, they got to gouge the public.
That's messed up. I know. I was surprised. I know, of course. But I'm just saying. It's like,
I didn't even bring it up.
My goodness.
But I can see people bitching and moaning online, and then nothing changes.
That's true. Well, I see. I have a little Brexit backgrounder, since I'll just kind of blow through some European news.
Here is the man who
Sorry? No?
I was just going to say, I actually have the report from Canada. I've added CBC to my mix.
Well, that's what I have here.
So when you're done,
hold on. Why are you adding CBC when I've already added CBC to my mix?
I've never noticed one CBC clip from you.
Oh, I play them all the time. It's just I don't say.
You never tell me this. I don't know this.
Here is the man who began this chaos today, Dominic Raab.
The terms proposed to the Cabinet yesterday, I think, had two major and fatal flaws. The first is that the terms being offered by the EU threaten the integrity of the United Kingdom, and the second is that they would lead to an indefinite, if not permanent, situation where we're locked into a regime with no say over the rules and the laws being applied, with no exit mechanism.
What would it take for Theresa May's critics to actually unseat her?
Well, it would take 48 letters of no confidence from Tory MPs. According to the rules of the ruling Conservative Party, they need letters of no confidence from 15% of sitting MPs. And right now that number stands at 48. It doesn't look like they have that number yet, but they may yet get there. Theresa May, despite all this turmoil, still showing up at the House of Commons today to defend her plan. Here's what she said.
The choice is clear. We can choose to leave with no deal. We can risk no Brexit at all. Or we can choose... Or we can choose to unite and support the best deal that can be negotiated. This deal.
Now, there is an EU summit planned for later this month to discuss this deal with the 27 other EU member states. But with all this turmoil here at home, it's not at all clear whether that'll happen, Suhanna.
And I'll just add some local color. Pretty much everything I've been watching on TV news-wise here, so that's the Netherlands, France, Belgium, Germany, the UK, except for the UK. In the EU part, everyone's like, well, this looks pretty good. We're not too excited. It's going to be all great. No one's freaking out. They don't really care one way or the other. It just doesn't seem to be a big deal here.
Well, that's because you're not in Poland. Now, there was something she said in there that I thought was peculiar.
Mm-hmm.
She had three choices. We can do no deal.
Yeah.
We can forget about it and just stay in the EU.
Yeah.
No Brexit.
Yeah.
Which was choice number two. And the third one was take this deal, which is the best deal, she says,
right.
Which is that 528 or 545 page document.
Right. No, but a no deal Brexit is different from do nothing.
The no deal Brexit was choice one. The second one was to take our chances and stay and not do the Brexit.
Yes, correct.
How is that a possibility?
You see, when you slip it in, then people don't think about the fact that they had a referendum about it. You just slip those words in and you go, oh, that seems like a choice. Who knows?
It's a scam. This is what I think they're going to try to do then.
Yeah.
Why would you put that in as an option when it's not really an option? Unless the whole thing is a scam. In other words, the Brexit vote means nothing, And I mean, I can see that second option. Well, I guess we can't do that because of the Brexit vote. Let's do the Brexit vote again.
Right. That's the only way to do it.
I mean, we have what's in March. It's March. We got like 3-4 months before March comes around.
Oh, we could have a do-over easy in that time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, I got the Canadian report.
Okay.
And the Canadian report has one interesting little tidbit in there.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on one sec. I see at least 3 clips that you have, that I have from CBC. So the only thing I'm going to ask you is, did you get these emailed from a producer? Because I did.
No, I got them straight from the CBC. I have a VPN that goes to Canada and picks up their broadcast.
Okay. No, I was just surprised.
Well, tell me what the 3 are. I'm curious.
Well, I have the kilogram. And so I have this one, and there must be another one. What's the third one? I can't find it right now. Yeah, there's a couple. It's all right. I just want to make
kilogram one I thought was just a filler. But this is the Canadian view of Brexit, and they have a bunch of stuff. And what's in here that I thought was interesting was the bookies have dropped the bet.
Yes. Yeah. That's good.
A life of confidence in the Prime Minister, Mr. Gale.
I absolutely do. I'm also looking forward to continuing to work with all my government colleagues in Parliament in order to make sure that we get the best future for Britain.
And on radio this morning, May again insisted that's exactly what her plan will do.
I truly believe this is the best deal for Britain.
All right, so how's it all going down with the British public who decided all this in the end? Thomas Degler took to the streets of London with that Brexit plan in hand to ask people what they think.
No one said it would be light reading. This is the document that has upended British politics. Theresa May's fully detailed Brexit plan, approved in Cabinet, all 585 pages of it. It sure is causing a fuss in the government, but what about on the street?
Have you actually held it and to see how heavy it is?
I never did, but this is ridiculous, yeah.
How much do you think politicians actually know about what's in here?
Yeah, probably very little.
How do you feel the Prime Minister is handling this?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know how anyone could handle it.
You could argue about the pros and cons of the detail. I think she has handled herself amazingly.
She can at least ought to expect loyalty from her fellow party members. They're just waiting to stick the knife in.
Hoping to briefly escape that Tory infighting, the Prime Minister turned to ordinary Brits on a radio call-in show.
Prime Minister Theresa May takes your calls.
The first caller demanded she quit.
I respectfully ask you to do the right thing in the national interest and stand down to allow someone from the Brexit camp to take the lead.
To the Prime Minister. Instead, May pledged this.
Well, decisions on things like who could come into this country will be taken by us here in the UK and not by Brussels. And that's exactly what the deal I've negotiated delivers. There's
no question she is resilient, facing down internal revolt time after time. The bookmakers had stopped taking bets on May's demise, but now they say the odds are she could survive.
News coming out of Westminster seems to suggest that if there was a vote of no confidence, she may well just squeak over the line.
Her job and the future of the country go hand in hand. Brexit will shape Britain, and the final deal will define Brexit.
You know what I like about these reports is everyone talks about 500 pages and, oh my goodness, but they never talk about what's in it. Not even one little bit, really. Seriously. I mean, there's a...
just weigh it.
Yeah.
I mean, a big binder, just giant binder. They should pass it around.
What they should do is they should say, hey, look, here's the Lisbon Treaty you idiot signed. It was 2,000 pages. Gee, this is...
So I have an ISO from that particular, this is, do not know how anyone could handle it. ISO, you want to play that and see if it's a qualifier?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know how anyone could handle it.
Wait until you hear my ISO later on, then we'll make a final decision.
Well, I got another one too, but
it'll be a different story. I have a Brexit for Dummies that I got in Dutch, and I can just give you some highlights because it seems to be there's nothing that we've been talking about in this agreement has really changed. You know, they still have the northern the Ireland border issue. Then they finally determined it'll be 21 months that they will remain an EU member. So, you know, that's almost 2 years. They go back to the same fishing thing, which they still have to come up with a deadline before, you know, the who's fishing from whose water. I guess that would be Scotland.
Their waters have been given over to the EU.
Yeah, so that won't change until the 1st of July 2020. That's when they still have to, it says here they still have to flesh that out. Now, they will, flesh it out. Well, don't worry, but we'll give us something to do.
Hey, I'll tell you what, sign the contract, and then we'll work on the details later. Yes. You ever get one of those bits?
Oh, many, yes.
I had a guy just throw that one at me.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
I said, I can't sign this contract. I got to get a lawyer. No. I'll tell you what, just sign it, and then we'll work on get the lawyer, and we'll work on it after you sign it.
No, I've had contracts where it said that in the contract. We'll work on the details later after you sign this. Sure. Oh, those are great contracts. Always turns out perfect.
This just makes zero sense.
The 3 million EU citizens who are in the United Kingdom will be able to stay. I guess we talked about the 40 billion euros that they'll have to pay. They still have not. Let me see. They agree to come up with a trade agreement. I mean, really, they have nothing. It's just a lot of agreements to agree to some stuff. And in which he was interesting. Cyprus. What was the thing with Cyprus? That's something. There's something weird about Cyprus and Gibraltar. So that's really the two other. We got to look at it.
Gibraltar's a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Gibraltar's a problem.
That is a problem because it's considered British. Yeah, there will be. So it doesn't really. Again, it's just like we'll agree on stuff. It's a nothing. Can I just quote Van Jones and say it's a nothing burger?
No.
It's a nothing burger, man. I don't see much in it. Just don't. Yeah, let's talk about the campfire for a moment. First, we have to correct ourselves. As you asked me where campfire, the name came from, I said someone started it.
I'm the one who said it came from a campfire. Or no, you said it came from a campfire. But that was verified, as far as I'm concerned, by somebody on one of our local news stations that said it came from a campfire. That was the originating. That was the start of the fire, and then it was doubled up by some other element, either arson or the PG&E lines, and they're trying to get away from the PG&E lines because of the liability issue, so they're just faking the news on that.
Well, look, a lot of people said that this was called campfire because it started at Camp Creek Road.
Yeah, wasn't it called the Camp Creek fire?
Yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point.
Or the Camp Creek Road fire.
I'm not saying we're neither here nor there. I mean, a lot of people were like, "You guys suck."
No, it's the litany now. There's no people, everybody. It's all of a sudden, out of the blue, has become the Camp Creek Road fire.
Correct.
I'm sorry, campfire.
Yes.
Starting on Camp Creek Road, which the way I've been around this state forever, and I know the nomenclature is the way they name things, and they usually would call it Camp Creek Fire, not the campfire. But okay. Whatever. We got a lot of notes because everybody reads the same news reports, and it says it was started on Camp Creek Road and the corner of Camp Creek and some other place. And fine.
So the latest in the blame game, which everyone likes to play, seems to be a story about a woman who received an email from Pacific Gas and Electric a day before the fire started. Here's the report.
Under otherwise pitch black skies, zigzagging flames cut a terrifying picture in the Feather River Canyon. The campfire will soon enter its 7th day.
We're not pronouncing it right. It's the campfire. It's not campfire, it's the campfire.
Streak of destruction that apparently started somewhere near Betsy Cowley's doorstep.
Here, I did receive an email from PG&E, and they said that they were coming out here to do work on Wednesday on a power line 3/4 of the mile away, and that they would need to come back and do another on a power line on my property.
Cowley hopes to organize a class action lawsuit against PG&E as she grieves for her friends in nearby Concow.
Those people lost everything 10 years ago, too, and no one's talking about them.
Tonight, PG&E responded to this story, telling NBC Bay Area, quote, based on our initial review, the email correspondence with the customer in question was about future planned work on a different transmission line in the area. That line had previously been de-energized and was not operational when the campfire started. PG&E also told us they're cooperating fully with the investigation on a cause, though with Concow and many other neighborhoods decimated, calls for more information linger.
And PG&E, if this is their fault, they need to be held accountable. And they need to do more than just jack up their rates. And they need to help more.
There you go. Everyone is looking at PG&E, which could be the culprits. As I was
deep pockets.
Yeah. But as I was going through some stories, this was one of those the truth always comes out type deals. And no matter what you do, the truth will just slip out and you won't even notice it yourself, nor will your colleagues at the news desk.
And I know...
Oops.
President Trump, when he was in France, had something to say about the wildfires devastating California this weekend. He wrote, "There is no reason for these massive, deadly, and costly forest fires in California except that forest management is so poor." He accuses officials of mismanaging.
By the way, you're going to want to listen to the guy at the end, not her. She's just important for the setup.
The forests, and adds, quote, "Remedy now or no more Fed payments." I want to get Tom Sater in here from the CNN Severe Weather Center. And Tom, some West Coast
Severe Weather Center
firefighters had an answer for the president. I want to read part of it to you. The head of the Pasadena Fire Association writing, "Mr. President, with all due respect, you are wrong. The fires in SoCal are urban interface fires and have nothing to do with forest management. Come to SoCal and learn the facts and help the victims." Tom, a strong statement there from the California firefighters. Fact check President Trump's tweet for us.
Okay. I enjoy being in the weather department because it's neutral, with the exception of climate change issues, but...
We're neutral. Except for the issue of climate change.
That is clip of the day.
I was loving it so much.
Clip of the day.
The reason it's clip of the day is because, and you're right, it would just go, we're neutral except for this, meaning you're not neutral about climate change. It is so, but since they're all in on the whole thing, they can't even see it themselves that he said that.
There's fact check President Trump's tweet for us.
Okay. I enjoy being in the weather department because it's neutral, with the exception of climate change issues, but...
Oh, man. And if you just listen to the guy, he continues and you just don't even think about it. But holy crap. It's so true. So true. Now, being outside of the U.S., you have different filters when stuff is comes in at different times of the day. And it's, to me, very enjoyable. It's just, it's so refreshing. Different kinds of news, sports news, Fartgate. I mean, come on, I'm having a great time over here. But there's something that happened surrounding the fire and a quote from Trump. And, man, we really got to watch it because this is happening more and more often where there's a little quote from the president, which, turns out is, it doesn't just happen with Trump. It turns out, this should be the defending Trump segment. I need a jingle for this. Adam's going to defend Trump.
We're defending Trump.
We're Trump defenders. Trump defenders. Trump defenders. Trump defenders. So Twitter explodes in front of my very eyes. What an ad! What a moron! What a dick! I've got people, and this is just our producers, not even Twitter, man. This is just people who we know. We've got guys from Finland. Whoa, what an idiot! Doesn't even know that it's not the same. We don't have the same climate. What, are you going to rake everything into safety? And when you hear the segment, which is out of context of the entire affair, it sounds kind of stupid. This is actually the longest version I was able to find. Most of them were 37 seconds. This is 43 seconds long, but you'll see quickly why it sounds like the president is a blubbering moron.
And I know Gavin's committed. We're all committed. I'm committed to make sure that we get all of this cleaned out and protected. Got to take care of the floors. The floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end, and it's going to work out. It's going to work out well.
So, it sounds like he just launches into, well, we got to rake the floor just like Finland does because, we all know they have the same climate. And that is real Dimension B thinking. It's when you're completely stuck. If you watch this whole news conference, and it was Gavin Newsom, President Trump, and Governor Brown all next to each other with a significant distance between Trump and Brown. They were not standing really right next to each other. And Trump, for the whole, he's
Newsom. We had a lot of coverage of that here. And Newsom was right. Actually, Newsom was chatting away as much as he could because he knows he has to work with Trump.
Yep. At
some point. And California's in huge trouble, and he knows he's got to make himself look good if he wants to run in 2024, and because that's his goal in life. And Brown is just a grumpy old man. He's just standing back there. He doesn't even know what happened.
So Brown was standing there. Trump thanked everybody, calling out guys off camera who you don't know. Everybody except Jerry Brown. And he thanked everybody. What a great job they were doing. And so I skipped a lot of that. I want to play, this is about a minute 45 of what he was really talking about. Then it goes to Brown, and when Brown's talking, man, you've got to see this video. Trump crosses his arms, he backs off, and he's doing like one of those stances with his head kind of cocked, looking over to the left. Like, what do you want to say? Jerk off. It's very aggressive. But when you put it all into context, what he's saying, it's not that crazy, and there's a reason why the United States Logger Association agrees with him what he said. But that's out of context. He sounds like a dick.
Governor, what needs to be done immediately from the federal government?
What needs to be done is what is being done. That is to put FEMA on the job, make sure our first responders are supported. We get the manpower, women power that we need to get the job done. And then we got the...
Notice the PC, manpower, woman power.
Cleanup, you got the search
get the job done
for those who lost their lives. It's just a big, massive cleanup after a terrible tragedy. So it's basically people that are right here, local people, state people, that are doing the work. The federal government provides some help and a lot of money.
He's clearly saying nothing. He's just blabbering.
And some expertise, and somehow we'll all pull through it together.
Is there any way to prevent this from happening again, Mr. President?
So, important question. Is there any way to prevent this from happening again, Mr. President?
Well, we've been talking about that on the ride over, and I think we're all on the same path. We do have to do management, maintenance, and we'll be working also with environmental groups. They've really, I think everybody's seen the light. And I don't think we'll have this again to this extent. We're going to have to work quickly. But a lot of people are very much, there's been a lot of study going on over the last little while. And I will say, I think you're going to have, hopefully this is going to be the last of these, because this was a really, really bad one. And I know Gavin's committed, we're all committed, I'm committed to make sure that we get all of this cleaned out and protected. Got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forests. Very important.
You see, when you hear it now in context, it makes a lot more sense.
The thing about this, and of course, predicting this won't happen again is a joke, because we have nothing but these fires here every year, and it's been going on since I was a little kid. But in the olden days, they used to do brush burn-offs, and we had a couple of people write us, some of our producers, saying they've been mismanaging they stopped doing a lot of stuff they used to do. Burn bags.
Yeah, burn bags, sure.
We used to, when I was at the air pollution district, they used to have these, they used to burn these. Ducks Unlimited had a kind of an unlimited permit to do all these burns, and they do these massive burns in these areas that were very flammable to allow the ducks to come in. And I haven't seen that for 20 years. Yeah. In fact, that half the stuff that used to go on when I was at the air pollution district, it was all done for management purposes, mostly burn-offs and controlled burns all over the California. They don't even do controlled burns anymore. I think it's just an accumulation. And we've been lucky until now, because in the month of October, usually, especially up there where that fire was, there's always had at least a week of rain that would just soak everything down, and there's no way it's going to catch on fire. But we've been dry up there,
right?
And for the whole time, and then this thing catches on fire and goes nuts.
And add to that,
it's just a coincidence. If it wasn't for that, they would have kept going. But they need to get back to their old policies of controlled burns all over the state. They don't do them.
And then, add to that because they're not really clearing things out and not doing the same amount of logging they used to, that all these trees are competing for the same water, and that just makes it drier.
I couldn't argue against that.
Well, that's what the loggers say. Let me see. Where's this?
The loggers are right.
Yeah, it's the. Let me see. What's the name of this loggers organization?
Loggers don't like this any more than anybody else. They lost a lot of logs.
Yeah. Why did they stop logging? I don't understand that at all. Yeah, what's the National Logging Organization? The Loggers Council, a coalition of state and regional associations that represents independent contract loggers. There you go. So they agree.
And so you have a disaster like this with a bunch of dead people. There's over 1,000 still missing. That's the latest number.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. A day wrecker,
I would say.
Yeah.
And there's no emergency system to tell people. I mean, there should have been but they never thought of something like this happening. It's never happened before in this area.
No.
And look how much greener it is than usual.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of brown now, but okay. We just don't worry about it.
Let's talk about.
Right, so
yes.
No, go on. Oh.
No, I was going to move to another topic, so go ahead.
Oh, well, let's talk about Assange.
Oh, okay, good. Yes, I have been reading. I'm glad you have something because I don't really have.
You have
any.
a clip from I have an Amy clip,
mm-hmm.
and I think she probably puts it as well as anybody because they're big Assange supporters. But this is the Assange indicted whoops clip.
Okie dokie.
The Justice Department has inadvertently revealed it has prepared an indictment against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. In an unusual development, language about the charges against Assange were copied and pasted into an unrelated court filing that was recently unsealed. In the document, Assistant U.S. Attorney Kellen Dwyer wrote, "Due to the sophistication of the defendant and the publicity surrounding the case, no other procedure is likely to keep confidential the fact that Assange has been charged," unquote. The news broke Thursday night, just hours after the Wall Street Journal reported the Justice Department was planning to prosecute Assange.
Okay.
So this was some intern or some low-paid millennial. I'm blaming the millennials.
Of course.
Who just, I can just cut and paste it. Because somebody said just cut and paste it, the boilerplate. But they didn't cut and paste the boilerplate. They cut and pasted this information. And it shows up.
Where's our checks and balances, damn it?
So they also had on the lawyer.
Well, hold on. So what does this mean? Because I really haven't followed the story. What does it mean for Assange? What is happening with him? I mean, this didn't help me understand his current position.
What it means is that all these lies that we've been hearing, that Assange and his lawyers were right, that the United States was out to get him.
Right, yeah.
Normally the CIA.
Right. So that means what? He stays where he is, or
that
is
means
Ecuador
they actually have indicted and charged him, even though they denied it because they didn't want him to get wind of it, because then he's going to hunker down longer. And now they're going to have to put pressure on the Ecuadorians to kick him out.
Right.
And they're willing to do that, but there's a lot of stories. And I don't believe half of them, but it's like, well, apparently Assange doesn't bathe and he's stinking up the embassy.
Oh, hit job.
All these kinds
hit job.
So he's stinking up the place, and they want him out.
Right, he's smelly.
Won't pay for his deals or something. I don't know. He's got a lot of complaints.
Political asylum ejected for being smelly. Oh, come on.
So let's play this WikiLeaks Pompeo Jennifer Robinson retort to the clip.
Well, Pompeo's statements as the head of the CIA demonstrate the fervour within the CIA, and certainly to be seeking WikiLeaks prosecution. But to say that receiving and publishing information in the public interest is an attack on Western values is frankly wrong, and a dangerous statement to be coming from the head of the CIA and someone who's been very senior in the Trump administration. This cuts at the heart of constitutional protections for free speech. It is protected under the US Constitution to receive and publish information that's in the public interest, even classified information, and that any publisher, including WikiLeaks, could be called a hostile non-state intelligence agency when media organizations around the world all the time, including the New York Times, including the Washington Post, receive classified information and publish it when it's in the public interest. To say that that is an attack on Western values is a very dangerous statement from the head of the CIA that ought to be investigated.
Yeah, what about press freedom?
I know everyone makes this thing. That actually should have been part 2 of this clip, which is the original Pompeo quote, WikiLeaks Pompeo quotes.
Let me go to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Last year, just after he became CIA director, in Pompeo's first major address, he blasted WikiLeaks.
It's time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is.
Right.
A non-state hostile intelligence service often abetted by state actors like Russia. In reality, they champion nothing but their own celebrity. Their currency is clickbait. Their moral compass non-existent. Their mission, personal self-aggrandizement through destruction of Western values.
So that was Pompeo. Of course, this certainly went against what his boss, President Trump, had said. I believe in the campaign in a month or two, he raised WikiLeaks, praised WikiLeaks well over 100 times. Let's go to one of those moments.
This just came out. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks.
There you go.
Let's just review for a moment, because if they're going to do anything with Julian Assange, they also need to arrest Glenn Greenwald. As you know, it was Glenn Greenwald who actually broke all the stories and passed, as we reported on many times, passed each time they were going to report on something. They sent it to CIA, to the White House, and said, here's what we're going to report. Do you have any comments? Anything to be taken out? And they would either say, nothing, or I don't think there was any case where they really said you can't leave that in. But they knew about it, and Glenn Greenwald was right there publishing. I mean, this is, people forget, but this is insane. Press freedom.
Yeah, and then they go into all this thing. Then they're making a big fuss about Jim Acosta's press pass, even though apparently, according to at least some sources, there's about 40 of them that have been issued to CNN and different people. And this is one guy. And they make a big fuss about that. And where is the media on this? Where are the protests? Where is the petition? Like the petition that came out of the University of California condemning the White House is the University of California, Berkeley. And so, which we've associated with the CIA, especially the graduate journalism department, which is where this came from. And to remind people why we do that is because so many people have been cropping up from that group, the graduate school, in various weird spots. And you remember the 2 Chinese girls that were up in North Korea and snuck into the country and then were captured, and Clinton had to go rescue them. Bill Clinton had to go fly over there.
Yep.
Those 2 were from the graduate school of journalism at Cal.
Yes.
And then this crazy group of 3 people that were somehow walking through the minefields on a hike.
They were hikers.
Iran.
They were hikers.
They were on the Iraq border and wandered into Iran for some unknown reason on their hike through the minefields, and they were all captured. They were all from the graduate school. They were captured and by the way, they were all captured and charged as spies, both in North Korea and Iran. And so now this same group comes up bitching and moaning about Jim Acosta having their license pulled. But where are they? Where is the protest from any of the journalists in the entire country, the big name journalists, which probably work on somebody else's payroll? Where are they? Where's the bitching about shutting down WikiLeaks? Where is it?
It's press freedom, baby. Press freedom. Press freedom.
Give me one example.
No, press freedom. So,
it's a great source. I was just looking at it the other day. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we can talk about that's on the WikiLeaks pages.
Well, we're in a complete alternative dimension right now when it comes to the mainstream media. M5M is just, they're off. But let's get back to Jim Acosta for a second. Here is this. I mean, if you ask anyone, if you even look at any newspaper articles here, it is, big win for the First Amendment. Trump is unconstitutional. Had no idea. What an idiot. What a moron. Oh, it's your Trump defense segment. The judge did not rule on the First Amendment. The ruling is not saying what Acosta did was right thing or the wrong thing. The judge ruled the president can't revoke his credentials without due process. And that's all because of prior procedures, etc. The judge himself even says here. What was it? Wait, I have to go up higher. It's New York Times. People have to behave. The ruling was significant. I want to emphasize the very limited nature of this ruling, the judge said, saying it was not meant to enshrine journalists' right to access. I have not determined the First Amendment was violated here. So this is very important, but that's not the story. The story is we won. And Jim Acosta, who knows very well this was not a First Amendment case, as he's coming into work at the White House again, here his colleagues are all ready to interview the big king, Jim Acosta, and he is actually spreading fake news at this very moment in this piece where he says, great day for the First Amendment and press freedom.
Hi, guys.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Hey, guys. Hey, how you doing, kids?
Well, you guys want to ask a question?
Hey, I'm important. Want to ask me a question?
I could just tell you, I just want to say that I'm very grateful for what happened today, and grateful for my colleagues in the press who stood by us through all of this.
Stood by me.
This was a test.
A test?
And
a test of the First Amendment.
I think we passed the test.
We passed the test.
And at this point, honestly, guys, this is just any other day here at the White House.
I'm a regular Joe.
For me, I would like to get back to work, and so should you. So go back to work, and we'll keep on doing our jobs. Journalists need to know that in this country, their First Amendment rights, freedom of the press, are sacred. They're protected in our Constitution.
Just again, nothing the judge ruled is about the First Amendment.
And throughout all of this, I was confident, and I felt that this would be the result at the end of the day, that our rights would be protected to continue to cover our government and hold our leaders accountable.
I mean, I can go on for another minute and a half of him just saying how great this was for the First Amendment, but this guy's a douchebag. This is the definition of fake news. He is standing there as if there was a First Amendment case. It just wasn't. It had nothing to do with the freedom of the press, which he loves to call press freedom. It's despicable.
It is. It's pretty funny.
It's just...
Who points this out besides the No Agenda show?
And the thing is, it's right there in writing. I mean, it's black and white. All this is in the New York Times, which is the paper of record. And all you have to do is just read it. It says right there, this has nothing to do with First Amendment. The judge says it has nothing to do with the First Amendment. It's just about process. And by the way, this lawsuit is not over. There will be a judgment about a lot more. There's other issues, so it'll be the touching of the intern and all this other nonsense. But I don't think we're actually seeing a First Amendment case here. But this is, again, it's the new speak of freedom of the press, which means the press, or really...
Press freedom.
Yeah, but in the Constitution, freedom of the press means the press can print whatever they want. They have the freedom to say whatever they want. That's their freedom. This has now been translated to press freedom, which is not the same thing. And somehow, even though the judge literally said this is not about access, somehow everyone thinks that the press freedom means they deserve. I mean, I want my press freedom. Let's go sit in the White House. We'll do a show from the White House, from the briefing room. We have press freedom. We have the right to be there. You certainly do. You're a journalist.
I'll go there tomorrow.
I know you're all over it. It's appreciated.
No, it's pathetic, and I don't know.
Yeah,
but he's, Costa's. I think that Scott Adams did an analysis of this guy, and I have to give him kudos on this one because I think he's right. Because Scott every day, this is whatever he does, an hour or 45 minutes of talking to a camera. So he goes on about, he says that Trump's whole thing is showmanship and is designed to just get a lot of attention, and it's a lot of it's nonsense. He says Acosta is the best example of the news media doing the exact same thing. Yeah. He's just being Trump.
Yeah.
And and he says he gets attention, he draws attention to himself, and he's not completely convinced that the two of them are in cahoots.
That's an interesting concept. That's an interesting idea, because Trump clearly doesn't know how to handle him. He has not figured out yet what the right way is, other than crossing his arms and doing his Mussolini jut, his chin jut.
Yeah.
Which is an official term.
He says Acosta is just pulling at Trump, and he's really making hay with it, and he is. He's doing
a good job of that.
Adams isn't sure that Acosta knows he's doing this, but that is what he's doing. Because Acosta doesn't seem like he seems like just an egomaniac. But why doesn't Trump just never call on him? That would work.
I don't know. It's not that important to me. It's just fun.
I consider it's important to the show because it allows us to play a theme that you are not playing anymore, which is distraction of the week. And I think that the Acosta thing is totally a distraction of the week.
The distraction of the week. Hey, on no agenda. Look over there.
It's getting way too much attention.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for Campfire, Dvorak.
Space Force. In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all boots on the ground, feet in the air. Subs in the water, the dames and the knights out there.
Yes, in the morning to everyone in the troll room who came upon their beckoning with the bat signal, which we flip on just before we go live every Thursday and Sunday morning. NoAgendaStream.com. Good to see you guys here. Thank you very much. It's always, especially when I'm thousands of miles away, it's like a warm bath having you guys in the troll room with me. And in the morning to Darren O'Neill. Brought us the artwork for episode 1086. The title of that one was Shark Hole. And although we even got one of our long-term producers yelling at us for having the audacity to choose a cover art that contained President Trump, we just couldn't help ourselves with him with the umbrella hat. What's that thing called? The
umbrella hat.
The umbrella hat. I
don't know what it's called. It's called an umbrella hat.
I think there's a name for it.
I don't think so.
It's we just looked at it and we were both cracking up. Like he had the right expression on his face.
We always go for the cheap.
Yes. Oh, yes.
If you want to do art, the cheap gag that has a little dimensionality to it always works.
Yeah, it's a tip from Adam and John. Cheap laughs are always the way to go.
Yeah. The cheaper the better.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's thank a few people for executive producing, and associate executive producing show 1087. Sir Alex at the top of the list, $333. I resent him I resent one of the newsletters out because people didn't open it.
Oh, really? I didn't realize.
The Armistice Day one.
Oh, interesting.
And because there's a function in MailChimp where you can say who didn't open this newsletter, send it to them again.
Oh.
It's a little convoluted to make it work.
Interesting. But that may be a good way to at least get to purge the list.
Yeah. I won't comment on purging lists. Anyway, resending the newsletter works. He says 7 hours of windshield time today. No agenda kept me sane. Oh, he's driving.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, your crazy Dutch buddy wanting to change his legal age has it all wrong. You don't want to identify as younger. I want to identify as a 67-year-old. Give me my Social Security benefits now. I'm officially retired. Yes, that came up in the conversation, I believe.
Interestingly, because this is not a done conversation in the Netherlands, of course, people think that that's the strongest part of his argument is saying, well, he's actually trying to not take the benefits from the community. That's kind of a good idea. Because he's 69, so he's already eligible.
Yeah.
So
not collecting.
It's kind of the opposite. That's just a point of interest.
Interesting. No jingles, no karma. Thomas Leary, $222 and 22 cents from Oslo. Adam and John, first of all, I'm feeling guilty for the absence of further contributions to No Agenda's coffers. For this, I apologize, and as such, request a de-douching.
Yes. Let me bring up the douche bucket. Here we are.
You've been de-douched.
In order to put things right, I'm donating 222.22 to support the show. The following is not a criticism, but an observation regarding the show's length. Almost exclusively, I listen to the show in segments while commuting to my job, as I am sure many of your listeners do. However, when you put out 3-hour shows, I'm often unable to take in the show's full content before the next show is released. Its topicality, after all, is what sets the shows apart from others. May I either suggest...
Oh, here we go.
I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh. May I suggest either a 2-hour cutoff or 3 shorter shows per week?
I have another option. How about you get a different job with a longer commute?
Longer commute. You can listen to the show at home while doing the dishes.
You can listen while making love. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do while you're listening to our show.
I suggest that last idea.
Yes.
May I suggest either 2 or 3 hours? It's not going to happen. With the show, let me finish his note. Thank you for keeping me sane keep me ahead of the game. Kind regards, Thomas Leary, a millennial Norwegian hybrid, British hybrid in Oslo. It's no jingles, no nothing.
Boom.
Now,
thank you.
I'm let Adam try to explain this, and I'll explain it myself as I look up N. Conklin's email. Why is the show as long as it is, Adam?
Why is the show...
You produced the show, so why is it as long as it is? How did it get to this length?
Oh, how did it get to this length? Well, the show in general... okay. The internet made it. The internet made it so for a number of reasons. When we started the show 11 years ago, the internet was much, much slower. We did not have social networks. The news flow was just not so vast as what is available now. We didn't have such incredibly divided, divisive conversations going on.
Okay, can I take it?
No. And then as we grew with the bandwidth available, which is not just data but information, we went to a second donation segment. And that, I think, is what made the show inherently longer, is by sticking to the second donation segment, which we needed because we were also receiving more support.
Here's what happened. We started off the show as 45 minutes or 30 minutes, and then we did another one. We talked a little longer. We said it was an evolution. It didn't have much to do with the bandwidth or the donations. The donation segment was part of cutting back the time, not extending it, because the time was getting too long. We finally got to it became 2 hours, and we figured, this is about right. We can do 2 hours, and then we at some point about a year and a half in, we added a second show, thinking that we could maybe even add a third show. And then we got to 2 hours of show, and then it went to – then you can just look at the list of the archives, and you can see it just creeps up. Mm-hmm. It crept up longer and longer and longer. And now the donation segment was it was separated into two so we can put the executive producers aside. But what really happened to that segment was people were writing long notes. They donate $10.
Yeah.
And they write a 2-hour note. It's like, it would go scroll and scroll and scroll. And we just cut off all these low end notes because everybody had to get their 2 cents worth in it. We could have done a whole show of just reading comments from the listeners. So we changed that.
No, hold on. I'm ending the show here, John. It's time to go. Come on.
Dick. Anyway, so the thing finally, then we had to the two of us after the show, we started going on and on about it. We got to cut the show down, and we tried to make it 2 hours and 45 minutes period, and we still drift into 3 hours often. If we were given, we noticed because we did a 7-hour show once.
Yes, I remember.
And we did it, a 7.5 to be exact. And we did it without a problem. No problem. Of us lost our voices. Yeah. We could do an 8-hour show twice a week.
We ain't no pussies. I'm just doing a diamond and pearl with you. Go ahead.
Exactly. We could do longer.
Longer.
Stop growing the show's length because it's annoying to people like yourself and everybody else.
Annoying.
But I think it's annoying when it gets to
No,
24
I'm
hours.
just doing the diamond and silk.
Yeah.
Diamond and silk. Yeah.
You got to be you got to have more twang to it.
Okay, I'll try.
But so we've decided 2:45 is our length, and we go usually to 3.
That's right. No 3s, 2:45.
But it's mostly 3.
That's right. Basically, we're just falling down by 2 hours and 45 minutes. We're just tired. And I think we're also done talking to each other, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, right
on, brother. Hey, do you have N. Conklin's note?
Yes, I do.
Okay. That's right.
Let's go back to our spreadsheet and finish this segment off. It's actually M. Mason Conklin. I have no idea why it went through PayPal as N. $214.33, and he writes, former associate producer and ex-executive producer, giving value where value is due. Forgive me, Podfathers. It has been. I'm getting that.
Whoa, you got a little upgrade there.
I've been upgraded. It's been over a year since my last donation. I don't always get the news, but when I do, I get it from No Agenda. Life is so much better without the talking heads spewing from the boob tube or the car speakers. I'd much rather have your take on transmitted directly to my ears via Bluetooth. Listening to the history of podcasting took me back to my dissertation writing days. The topic of the dissertation was musical performance anxiety in virtual performances. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I hypothesized that performances that were recorded in private for a podcast audience would produce elevated levels of performance anxiety. If so, that would allow exposure therapy through podcasted performance to lead to extinction for anxiety in the public performance situation. Short answer, nope. I still got my PhD, though.
No doubt.
It's a very interesting theory. Because if anybody just sits there and tries to do one of those, especially a video podcast, just to nobody, it's like, how do you do that?
What do you mean?
Scott Adams does he starts off his thing, do-do-do-do-do. He sings his little song.
Yes, and he does the simultaneous sip.
Then he has a simultaneous sip.
Which I love, by the way. This smart idea. That's your hypnosis right there.
Yeah, it's his hypnotic trick to get everyone in the groove.
Yep.
And then he just starts greeting before the sip. He starts greeting people as they come in, and he names their names.
Yeah.
And
it's very much. We've been doing that for quite a while with our live stream. We've got our Hitler music to get everyone in the mood.
Yeah. Well, Horowitz insists on doing that too.
Yeah, it's important.
Anyway, I'll continue. That needs some further discussion.
Yes, I agree.
Asking for interview karma as I hope to make the jump from professor to administrative position. If I get the gig, my next donation will take me to knighthood. If I don't get the gig, my next donation will take me to knighthood, so no pressure. Also requesting a 501c3 karma as I start up the process on a side hustle. Everyone knows the big money is in nonprofits.
You got to get some messed up kid to do your marketing.
Finally a douchebag call out. He needs a douchebag call out followed by a resist we. I don't know where the douchebag call out's for. Followed by resist we much for all the late voters in Florida. Oh yeah, you hear that, douchebags? Okay. Not donating to No Agenda is just as bad as voting after the polls close. He's in Holly Springs, Georgia. So he needs douchebag resist we much.
Yes, I'm trying to find the. Oh, here it is. Here's resist we much. And does he want a karma with that? I mean, we might as well just throw in a karma, right? Okay.
Douchebag resist we much. We must and we will much about that be committed.
You've got karma.
There you go. Thank you very much. Good note.
Yeah. I think it's Ellie. Zanoon, Z-A-N.
Ellie Zanoon. Yeah, I think so.
N-O-U-N. Z-A-N-O-U-N. And Philly. $200.33. Dear John and Adam, thank you for being who you are and for keeping the show going for so long. You have become an integral part of my life, and I have funny dreams about you at times.
Ooh.
No agenda subconscious and no agenda thinking is now omnipresent within. I had donated.
No. That's not the right sound effect. No agenda is now omnipresent within.
I donated on November 7th, $333. That made me a knight, but it went unnoticed.
Uh-oh.
I emailed John, but I got no response, so I'm donating again. Well done.
Surprise.
Please knight or black knight me as Sir Hummus from the Middle East. I'm Lebanese, and hummus as a word also means chickpeas in Lebanon. Middle Easterners should make hummus and love, not war. John, please note that many Arabs are not Muslims. Moreover, I never said that word, did I?
I don't think so. I would have corrected you.
You would have. Moreover, many non-Israel Jews that in that region do not identify as Arabs. DNA links coastal populations around the Mediterranean to Phoenician roots. Byblos, a town in Lebanon, is thought to be the place where the alphabet was invented and the first Phoenician city. There you go. There's your cold read issue.
Yeah, right on.
Nailed it. If possible, please add hummus and Arak, A-R-A-K. I think that's pronounced right.
Mm-hmm.
Or Iraq. Probably Iraq. Hummus and Iraq to the round table, but only if import is not an issue. Ha 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 ha. NJNK, love you. P.S. How can someone email you? Well, he emailed me. It has my email. You is at McCurry.com. It's very simple.
Yes. Well, I like that because it kind of shows at the end of the day, said purposefully, this whole Arab Jew thing is about hummus. We all know it.
It's what you said, yes.
Yep, it's about hummus.
You've been making this hummus comment for years.
Yep, it's hummus.
Have you ever had good hummus?
I have had, yes, I've had Israeli hummus, I've had Arab hummus, and I've had hummus from Whole Foods.
Hummus there's no such thing as Arab hummus or Israeli hummus.
If an Israeli gives it to you and says, my mom made this, it's her recipe, that's Israeli hummus. If an Arab gives it
ground to a pulp, what kind of a recipe are we dealing? Put a little tahini in it. I mean, there's not much to this recipe.
I know, isn't it crazy? I mean, we've been at war for 70, 80 years. And there's really not much to it.
Maybe the war's over the hummus recipe.
Oh.
I'll tell you one thing. Let me tell people out there who've never had hummus. Sabra makes probably the closest in texture to a commercial hummus you can buy. Although there is a hummus out of the Midwest called, I think it's out of the Midwest. The brand name is Oasis. I think Oasis hummus comes the closest I've ever had in this country to a genuine handmade hummus in the Middle East. Not to mention that little shop in Los Angeles, which I still have to get the name of.
So
but Oasis.
Sabra is the Israeli hummus.
Sabra's problem is simple. They don't use olive oil.
Oh, big mistake.
The problem with using olive oil in a lot of commercial operations is that you can't get it a bland enough olive oil. It kind of ruins the hummus. Especially can make it bitter if you have high acidity.
I think we need a hummus off, and we have our official Israeli Jews. We've got Brian of London, Sir Jono. We've got a dude named Muhammad on the Arab hummus side. I think that we both need to receive samples, and we need to have a taste off, a hummus off here on the No Agenda Show, which could possibly create peace in the Middle East.
Send the samples to Adam.
Yep. Well, you don't want to eat stuff people send to you through the mail?
I want people to try the Oasis and the Sabra side by side and tell me what you think. There's other ones. There's all these other hippie hummuses. That's what you left out.
Hummus.
There's
hippie
Arab hummus Israeli hummus, and a hippie hummus.
Show title, Hippie Hummus. Are you kidding me?
Hippie hummus. So there's all these little dipshit organic operations, many on the West Coast, and they make the worst hummus. It's got lumps and chunks, and it's got little hard bits in it. It's unbelievable.
You know, at Whole Foods,
organic.
It's Whole Foods. They have hummus. They have all these different categories. There's red pepper on top hummus. There's hummus with lemon juice, hummus with lime. There's all kinds of westernized. Just trying to profit over the backs of people at war. It's disgusting. Jeff Bezos, I'm looking at you with your big eye. You hummus hater.
Sir Dave, Baron of Kansas City, let's continue. $200.02. Happy Thanksgiving. No jingles, but please send out another round of cancer karma for my buddy Brad, who went under the gamma knife for his brain tumor. Apparently, there's still some nastiness hanging out in his brain pan. He's got the same cancer that killed McCain. So I'd like to see that going. Thanks for your courage.
Let me do that right.
Baron of Kansas City.
Let me do that right. We got some gamma knife F cancer karma.
You've got karma.
Here we go.
People, minimize your cell phone use.
Yeah.
Patrick Kummer, $200. It was time to donate. Sarah Sanders comics were hilarious in the newsletter.
They were very good, and I hadn't really noticed the eye thing until
the big eye.
The big eye that's kind of up like that. Man, there's some no. I have a couple of caricatures that were made of me, very exaggerated, features accentuated. Personally, I love it. I mean, I find it such an honor that someone went through the trouble of making that and their interpretation. But some of those were just like someone with a third grader drew with chalk. I mean, some of those were pretty poor.
It was the good, the bad, and the ugly in that pile.
Yeah. It was a good collection. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do next week. I'm going to probably do, or in the upcoming weeks. I don't want to make promises.
Now, the point being,
Kellyanne Conway.
The point being really that the art of political cartooning, is that the word?
Yeah, I think so. Editorial cartooning. Specifically editorial cartooning.
Right. That's lost, and publications can't really afford or don't want to pay for that anymore, and it's becoming a lost art. I think that was the point you were making.
That point was in there, and one of the things I've noticed is that in the olden days, before the internet came along and wiped these guys out, every newspaper, pretty much from a medium-sized market to a large market paper, had a cartoonist on the staff working full-time,
right,
often doing up to 5 cartoons a week.
Wow.
And now they're all syndicated. They just buy somebody's feed from McClatchy or one of the big syndicators, and they put their cards. They have maybe a package of 10 cartoons you get in a bundle, and you just use those, and the hell with it.
Since we're on the newsletter, it has to do with this. What was that about Craig Newmark? He was becoming the chairman of something ridiculous. What was that?
No, Newmark had become the big donor to Craig Newmark is the guy who founded Craigslist. That's what the Craig is from. And he pretty much
killed the newspaper industry. Yeah.
Yeah, because they had developed this very elaborate methodology of making money on classifieds. Even the small town papers were making money on classifieds, and Craig
blew it out of the water.
Decimated, which is misused, by the way, by the media constantly.
Yes, because that would only mean 10% was gone, but yes.
Yeah, decimated means you've lost 10%.
But no, we're going to have that change in the dictionary. That needs to be changed.
It needs to be changed.
Yep.
So Craig ruined the business, and then he became a benefactor to New York City College of New York's
journalism school,
or City University of New York's journalism department. So they named the department after him.
That's funny.
The Craig Newmark graduate journalism department. It's like, what are you? What?
Although I think you made a mistake. You said that's like making, what was it? The Heinrich Himmler's
public relations chair.
I think what you meant was Hermann Goering or Goebbels.
I meant Himmler for the reason that the name itself is associated with Goering would be the obvious one to use if you wanted to just public relations. But that actually makes more sense because Goering, Goebbels. He made more sense. Goebbels made more sense as a head of because his information still applies. He didn't ruin public relations.
Right.
Right.
No, he actually created public relations.
Well, he took Bernays' material and upped the ante.
By the way, there's no R in Goebbels, just because I love you. No. I'm not being critical. I'm just helping you because I want us to be better than the rest.
I'd like to get a really accurate pronunciation of Goebbels.
Goebbels.
Yeah, I'd like to get a real accurate pronunciation.
That's the accurate pronunciation, Goebbels.
Goebbels.
Yes.
Yeah, see, nobody knows what you're talking about when you say it, unfortunately, in the United States.
Actually, it's Goebbels.
There may be an official pronunciation in the AP book, or the.
It's Goebbels. I'm from Holland, man. It's
I know
Goebbels.
You're pronouncing it right, but you can't. There's also other words that no one's going to pronounce in the Dutch and German fashion,
such as
Munich,
München.
Yeah, nobody. You said München. On a TV broadcast, they're going to go, what? How about this one? Deutschland.
Hello, Deutschland. Here's the Hof.
We do say Deutschland on this show.
For years.
Yeah. Because it's Deutschland.
It's just Deutschland. It's hello.
I don't think it's a hard word to deal with. It's not like,
Okay, we're almost through this. You can do it.
Yeah, the last guy. This show, 1087, our associate executive producer. We had a lot of them. Didn't only have one executive. Yes. David Nixon. And David Nixon writes, at $200, can you do another CAD equals US dollars promotion soon? I would love an RNC bunghole remix and popping bottles in the club at the end of the show.
I don't remember what that was.
The RNC bunghole.
This is something that we possess? Let me see.
Apparently.
Oh, let me see.
And popping bottles at the club.
Popping bottles. Oh, I think I have it.
Let me mention something about what he's talking about, the Canadian dollars to US dollars promotion.
Yeah. Okay.
That's still in effect. It never went away.
No, I don't understand that either. It's definitely never gone away. We've always wanted to help our Canadian brothers.
Offer. So if you give us $300, the problem is if you go through PayPal, it's going to translate the money. You have to actually make it in Canada. It's harder to do in Australia unless you send us a note and make us aware of it. Yeah. But generally speaking, if you give us $300 in Australian money, we'll credit you $300 for the purposes of knighthood accounting.
Yeah.
And also for executive producer accounting. You just have to tell us.
Get some cooks. By the way, it's called popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club.
Okay, we got it. I'll put it at the end of the show. Yeah, it's good. It's a good one. It's actually our hip hop debut. You didn't know that?
No. Yeah. I didn't know what our hip hop debut actually was.
Here's our hip hop debut.
Get some cooks. By the way, it's called popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club.
That's right. MC JCD.
Popping bottles in the club.
Cristal or Dom Perignon Dom.
You're the Cristal Dom Perignon, popping bottles in the club. We can take this shit on the road, John. We're good to go.
Yeah, we must. Yeah, it's called a meetup in Austin.
Okay. Rub it in, please.
All right. That will be our conclusion of the 1087 executive and associate executive producer credits. I want to thank all these people for helping us get this show off the rails and on the air.
And of course, your credits as you've received them today. One executive producer, and we have a number of associate executive producers, are real credits. They are official. They can be used anywhere credits are recognized and valued, which is in a lot of places in media. And when you put it on your LinkedIn, people seem to be drawn to that. It's and of course, if there's ever any issue, we'll be happy to vouch for you. Now, this is our value for value model. This is what people thought the show was worth to them, and we will talk to more people, $50 and above in our second segment. And please remember us for our Thanksgiving show, which we will be doing live at
Dvorak.org. Hippie.com/NA.
You have been loaded up with all kinds of deconstruction today. Go out there, let everybody know, and propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
I got an interesting note. We were actually laughing quite loudly about a clip we played on the last show about charcoal, and we couldn't. This is what the title of the show was actually named, Shark Hole, because we couldn't figure out if this woman was talking about illegal smuggling of charcoal in the Congo.
Yes, and luckily we have a producer.
Yes,
that provided us the answer.
Said, please keep me anonymous since I'm part of the military-industrial complex, and we of course respect requests of anonymity. Listening to the latest episode, I thought I could shed a bit of light on the illegal smuggling of charcoal out of Africa. I worked on a staff on a small island in the Arabian Gulf a few years ago as part of a Navy coalition, and charcoal smuggling out of Somalia was something we tracked and tried to interdict. When I first got there, I was surprised, as you and John when I was sitting in a briefing and people started talking about charcoal smuggling. It's a thing. And until this episode, I didn't realize the DRC was involved. I was only aware of the Somali charcoal problem. Keep me anonymous, but here's an article from The Economist about the issue for your perusal, which I've put into the show notes at nashownotes.com. So yeah, and it's the Saudis. You know, they like it the most. They use it for let me see. I have this article here. Saudi Arabia, it's like a real commodity for them. Of course, I can't find it that quickly.
Maybe it's to cook that chicken that they make so well.
I think that's actually what it said. They love smoking their shista. Yeah, they just like the taste of it better. How about that? They like it so much. There's a whole market in illegal charcoal just so their food tastes better. Huh.
Yeah. Well, luckily we have a nearby country called Mexico that will burn down entire regions filled with mesquite.
Right.
Chop it and put it in a bag and sell it to us for $10. No illegal anything.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Okay, what else do we have here going on?
Well, let's play the Hodgepodge report. This is a hodgepodge from CBS on the MBS update on Mr. Sawbones.
U.S. officials tell CBS News the CIA has intelligence indicating Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. But the State Department clarified that no final conclusion has been made. Today, President Trump was briefed on the subject by CIA Director Gina Haspel and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo during his flight to California.
As of this moment, we were told that he did not play a role.
Before that briefing, Mr. Trump defended his alliance with the kingdom.
They have been a truly spectacular ally in terms of jobs and economic development. And I also take that, I'm president, I have to take a lot of things into consideration.
17 Saudi nationals have been sanctioned by the U.S. government in response to the killing, but Republican Senator Bob Corker wants the administration to closely examine the Crown Prince's role. President Trump also said today his written responses to questions from the special counsel's team are complete.
Now,
yes.
This was a screwball report because the timeline is not right, because Trump's talking about one thing and he talks about the same. It's hard to understand what's going on about this so-called CIA report blaming this guy for being responsible for Khashoggi.
This is what I focused on, and this all came from the Washington Post. That's the genesis of this. And if you read the actual article, it's filled with a close ally of President Trump, U.S. officials familiar with the matter said, or according to people familiar with communications. This is not they make it sound like the CIA had a report, published it, and said, here it is. This is our conclusion. It's bullshit.
Non-existent.
Meanwhile,
I'm going to say, meanwhile, if you go to Canada, again, the CBC.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way that Canada claims it takes it. And this is the way it goes out to Europe and all around the world. These bogus news stories written by the Washington Post and the New York Times get played like this. This is the MBS CIA claims. Now listen to the way they play this story.
The CIA has concluded Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi. Multiple U.S. media outlets reporting that tonight. The journalist was...
You see, there's the cover your ass moment. What a bunch of dicks.
Tonight, the journalist was killed last month inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Saudi officials have repeatedly denied involvement in the killing.
Oh, they say concluded, but then they push it one layer deeper by according to U.S. media reports. You pussies. That's despicable.
I thought it was the worst thing I've ever heard on the National.
Yes. Stop defending Trump.
We're not defending Trump in this case.
I know, but I know what's coming. I know what's coming. Yeah, and then John Brennan goes out. Listen to this douche on the Today Show.
Well, I think Donald Trump and the White House are trying to protect the relationship that we, the United States, has with Saudi Arabia, but also their personal relationship with MBS. I would hope that Trump and others are getting daily, if not more regular, intelligence briefings from CIA and others about what it is that we know. And I think this is the challenge for the Trump administration, because I'm certain that CIA has a lot of information about this, and this is why I think Mohammed bin Salman is trying to figure out what's the story he can provide that's going to stand up to scrutiny in light of U.S. intelligence, Turkish intelligence.
You know more about Saudi Arabia than almost anyone. Is there any doubt in your mind that Saudi operatives carried this out? And is there any doubt in your mind that the Crown Prince knew about it and maybe even authorized this?
The answer to your questions, no and no. There's no doubt in my mind. Mohammed bin Salman is an extraordinarily powerful individual who wields full power in Saudi Arabia. And something like this, going after a U.S. resident, a journalist for the Washington Post, in a Saudi diplomatic mission abroad.
I just love putting that in, like a U.S. resident. He has a green card, okay, but he says it with the same, like almost like it's a U.S. citizen, and he worked for the Washington Post journalist. They published a couple columns, please.
Would require his personal authorization, in my estimation, because this is something that individuals would not carry out on their own volition.
Well, if that's the case, then why did it seem to be so bungled? Why was it such a mess, this whole thing?
That's a great question.
That's not a great question.
It just is. I don't know what they were thinking. Were they just going to go in there and interrogate him and bring him back, and this went wrong? I don't know. But the size of the delegation that went there and some of the individuals involved, and it looks as though these are members of the Saudi Royal Guard who come directly under Mohammed bin Salman. So this is something that maybe Mohammed bin Salman thought he could get away with because of the very close relationship that he has with the White House. He just very badly miscalculated the impact of this.
It's really beautiful to watch this unfold based just on a story. I mean, Washington Post just wrote a story. They have not a single source that they name. I'm not saying the journalists didn't talk to sources.
From other clips that we've played, which we can't dig up that easily, it's the CIA people are not allowed to talk to the press.
No. No.
They're given lie detector tests to make sure they don't talk to the press. So this is either like purposefully, if it's the information was actually leaked, which is also against the law.
Yep.
This whole thing stinks.
Well, there's big shifts taking place.
Brennan doesn't help things by being out there. The guy shouldn't even be working.
No, that guy he's a problem. But and then again, not really. I mean, does anyone care anymore? Do you think anyone at home? Do. Well, I mean, I'm happy he still shows up. I mean, at least we know what someone's thinking, what some factions or groups are thinking. That's important. But no. Let me see.
I got a clip here. Play this. Melania getting others fired is a good clip.
Yeah, I've been following this to a certain degree. I kind of liked it.
Also, in a rare move, the First Lady is calling for another top staffer to be fired. Here's
another
Reed.
one.
At a ceremony celebrating the Hindu Festival of Lights today, President Trump had no comment on reports that he plans to remove Christian Nielsen as Secretary of Homeland Security. Knowledgeable sources tell CBS News Nielsen will be leaving, but say the timing is uncertain. Just last month, President Trump praised her response to devastating hurricanes.
Secretary Nielsen, you work so hard. I don't think, have you gone to sleep in the last 2 weeks? I don't think so.
And she has been a vocal advocate for the president's policies, including immigration.
Apprehension without detention and removal is not border security.
But sources say she could fall victim to the president's frustration that his immigration agenda has stalled.
I mean, there's no great secret. A lot of administrations make changes after midterms.
If she is forced out, that could lead to yet another clash between the president and Chief of Staff John Kelly, who is Nielsen's strongest supporter in the White House. Sources say her firing could result in Kelly's departure. The former 4-star Marine Corps general has been frustrated that he couldn't bring more order to the chaotic West Wing. If Kelly were to leave, sources say the president has been advised to bring in someone with more political experience in preparation for the 2020 re-election campaign, like Nick Ayers, Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence.
So what do you think happened there with Christian Nielsen? That was an odd one.
This has yet to be explained.
Yeah, I know, but what do you think happened?
Well, she got irked with that other woman because of some trip she took with her to, I forgot where it was, but it was a long overseas trip. And apparently this woman was just a horrible person. Mm-hmm. First Lady couldn't sit where she wanted to. And there was just a lot of, I don't know what was going on. But you can look at her. She doesn't look like very friendly. I think that, I don't know. I mean, it had to be something personal.
But Christian Nielsen, she has nothing to do with her. Have they even ever spoken to each other?
Maybe the story's bogus. There's no confirmation of it.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Just another one. Maybe someone wants her out. I don't know. It's just, I don't understand.
They do want Kelly out.
Well, who's they?
Everybody.
No, why?
No. Scaramouche told me.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. Kelly,
he'll be out within 6 months.
Kelly is the keeper. No, he's got to take it all the way up to the next. They got to get another military guy in. We know how this show works. We know who's running it. Military has to be overseeing the operation. He's not going until someone else of military stature enters.
I would agree with that because that's our basic theory on this show.
Right.
And this guy Pence's chief of staff, if you see him, he looks like a kid in college. And he, unless he's CIA, which is exactly what you don't want.
No, that won't be tolerated. No, it has to be military. That's just there's no two, and it has to be a visual, like a visible military person, not just some guy who was enlisted at one point. We know who's running the show. And by the way, you see the Pentagon. They finally completed their first audit.
What?
Yeah, they failed. The whole audit failed.
You think? They failed, huh?
The whole audit, every category they failed. But it's just the beginning. We'll go back and we'll try and count it again. We'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah, they're stealing money.
But how come no one is even reporting on that? You'd expect it. That's kind of a big deal.
Well, because the agencies that run the newspapers,
yes,
as we've discussed, they're all bought and sold. You can tell by their reporting. They're fronting for all the intelligence agencies, and they're stealing money too.
Yeah,
the Pentagon and the intelligence agencies are all stealing money. So let's just shut up about it.
Yeah.
What can I say?
No, I think you're right.
Another story from Canada for the Canadians. This story got my attention. It got my attention because I'm just telling the Canadians that listen to the show that are becoming knights, you're not getting your rings until next year. This is the postal workers clip.
If you're waiting for an international package to arrive, you may have to keep waiting. Canada Post is asking 190 countries to halt mail shipments into Canada.
What?
We're running out of time. The holiday surge is quickly approaching, and we are backlogged at all our major processing facilities.
The company says it has a 30-day backlog for delivery as a result of the rotating strikes, and hope for a negotiated resolution had a setback today. The workers' union said it won't be taking the latest offer to its members.
How's that socialism working for you, Canada? I discovered, we already discovered about the true cost of health care to a lot of Europeans, certainly the Dutch, but also the Swedes and the Norwegians and the Germans. And it's not really a fantastic deal. In the Netherlands, hospitals are going broke. Patients have to be shuttled literally to different hospitals. And I've been talking, I was at Christina's place yesterday, and a couple of kids around here. When I say kids, I mean, I'm talking 19, 20 years old. And you'd think that university and schooling is free in the socialist kingdom of the Netherlands. And this goes for Germany, goes for the UK. I'm not so sure about France, but I asked around. It seems like most countries in Europe have kind of a similar model. And I didn't realize this, but the government provides very low-cost loans, I believe about 0.5%, to all students. And I said, hey, do you how much? And depending on what type of education they're going to. Now, first of all, was it not your impression that in all these countries that education is free and it's all groovy and don't have to worry about it? Is it just me who thought that?
I was under the impression that it was very similar to what I had when I was a kid, where I could go to the University of California. I did have a couple of minor scholarships, but there were nothing to write home about. And the tuition was like $50, and the books were a good deal. And you could buy used books, which you can't do anymore because it's just another scam we have not really discussed on the show. And I thought, and you get through the whole thing. It was kind of paid for by the state of California for California citizens.
Right. So
I thought it was like that.
Yeah, something similar. And I would say that it certainly was that way, and I remember it that way. I think maybe it was, like 500 guilders a year or something. There was some reasonable amount. Well, these days, every single child that I spoke to had varying between 10 and 40,000 euros of debt. And while not surprising that the socialist kingdoms around here would try and screw their youth, even more interesting is that in the Netherlands just announced this week that the Dutch equivalent of FICO score, the BKR, will now also include your student debt. It used to be that they did not include that in the calculation of your BKR report score, FICO score, your social credit score, whatever we want to call it. But now they are. With the result, of course, that these kids can't buy a house, or they can, but they already have a huge debt on the books. Public transport. It's free unless you don't complete your education. If you drop out and you don't get your degree or whatever you were studying for, you don't graduate, then you have to pay all of your public transportation back, which is tracked nicely for you.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be the other way around.
Yeah, if you graduated, you should be getting money back, is what you're saying.
Well, if you graduated, you should be making some money, and you should be able to afford to put in a few pennies for the public transportation. And if you're poor, you should be able to get free public transportation.
Then we double down on you, slave. Shut up. I'm going to get that money from you. It's bad. These kids are disillusioned. And then so it's not a bank loan, it's a government loan. And it's called the division of the government that provides this is called DUO, D-U-O. And so they have this saying in Holland, the kids, when they're like, if they're out on a Friday night, they say like, hey, I'll buy the drinks because Uncle Duo dropped by yesterday. And so they're just spending, I'm sure that's the same with all college loans, but they're spending half their money on drinks and drugs and whatever else. They just they'll pay it back one other day, whatever happens. All of the youth is being enslaved I don't think they see it that way yet, but I don't understand how these countries...
They never will see it that way, by the way.
But these countries who, you have this impression that, they're socialists, and they still have the 60% taxes, by the way. That's the same. But then the kids...
I would think that 60% taxes would pay for the education. Wasn't that the idea?
No, and the hospitals are closing. I mean, I don't know. It's something wrong with this system.
I have a friend, a Dutch guy, he says that he says a lot of the hospitals are closing because they're falling apart. They have to close.
So, well, isn't that... Oh, and so it has nothing to do with their balance sheet? Tell your Dutch guy to go pound sand.
He's Dutch.
Who do you take over? You take his word over me, a lying Dutchman?
He lives there. You stopped living there years ago. You went to England.
It doesn't mean
sold out.
I didn't say... Okay. All right, let's move on to Nancy Pelosi. I'm not quite sure why, but she had...
Well, I do have a preliminary clip.
No, I think this is your preliminary clip. This has nothing to do with the speakership. I don't know why, but I think she had... Al Sharpton must have helped her with something. Oops, you dropped out, John.
I didn't say anything.
No, it sounded like you dropped out. So, did he gin up votes, or what did he... I mean, somehow the payoff was needed. Because, the way Sharpton works, Al Sharpton, is with his, what is it called? The something Action Network, the Now Action Network.
Yes, the bullcrap app Action Network.
So the way, what he does, he goes and protests in front of your business or whatever it is and calls you a racist until you pay him off by making a donation, and then he goes away. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, that's...
Well, he got the idea from Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition because he used to do that.
Same thing. It's a known model, and it works. And it's no different from sleeping giants on Twitter, and it's all part of the same thing. Although sleeping giants, I don't think you can pay them off. So Nancy Pelosi had to speak at his Action Network shindig, and just listen to it.
And also to think in entrepreneurial, bigger ways. We're going to be visionary. We're going to be unifying. We're going to be healing. We're going to be transparent in how we do this. We're going to be respectful of other views. But we are going to, we're going to try to find our common ground where we can. We have a responsibility to do that. But where we can't, stand our ground like a rock. That's what Thomas Jefferson advised us to do. So in any event, thank you. Thank you for helping take back America. People all over the place are calling me, writing on the airports here, there. Thank you for saving America. I give those thanks to you. Thank you for saving America. Reverend Sharpton, thank you for saving America. Thank you, God. Thank you.
Give a hand, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you for saving America, Reverend Al Sharpton. What is that about?
I don't know. She's such a political animal. We have no idea.
And I kind of like this as an ISO.
Give a hand, Nancy Pelosi.
You think that's better than my two? Is that your contribution?
That's just one of them.
RESPICT.
That was always a winner. Well, let's play the Trump caving to Pelosi is about Trump deciding to find some Republicans to vote her as speaker.
Yes,
generally speaking, they'll never do it.
I really think and respected what Nancy said last night about bipartisanship and getting together and uniting. She used the word uniting, and she used the bipartisanship statement, which is so important because that's what we should be doing. So we can look at us, they can look at us, and then we can look at them, and it'll go back and forth, and it'll probably be very good for me politically. I could see it being extremely good politically because I think I'm better at that game than they are, actually.
Look at us, look at him, look at us.
Yeah, I know. What a jerk.
Why this? I mean, even if you hate him, can't you just see the humor in it? I mean, here in Europe, Jean-Claude Juncker, you may have seen this. This is Juncker the Drunker. The guy is now so drunk. There's a video. It makes no sense for a clip because there's really no audio. Where he's on a podium getting ready to talk at a lectern. There's a couple other people up on the podium. And one of his assistants comes over and the guy is wearing two different shoes. I mean, this guy is so drunk. He's so drunk. Of course, I mean, he really needs two different shoes for orthopedic reasons for his sciatic nerve issue. But, man, you got something to say about our guy? Please. Your guy is really, really the pits.
Orange man bad.
It's just funny. And the way he just shuffles off. I mean, is there no one who just says, stop this guy? Stop him. It detracts from any kind of power or authority the European Union wants to project on its citizens. Everybody is laughing about this.
It shows you how arrogant they are and how little they care because they know it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah. I am predicting, by the way, a child boom in Europe in about 9 or 10 months from now, maybe even 8. We're going to have a lot of kids being born. You can put it in the Red Book. And I don't know why this has not been reported on, but there was some kind of issue with the pill, with the manufacturer of the birth control pill. And they ran out, not just in the Netherlands, but in other EU countries, ran out. Women could not get their pill. They were borrowing from other women. And apparently they're getting the supply back on track. But, wow.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and of course the reporting is, there was just some issue with the manufacturers. No one is really reporting what's happening. How can that happen? I mean, where is Planned Parenthood? Oh, we don't have that in Europe. But surely there should be some organization just up in arms about this. I mean, this is just as important as toilet paper. I mean, this is a big deal. You can't just... I mean, this is the technology that women rely on. I'm not being facetious. I mean it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd never heard this story.
No, of course not. Trump. Raking forest. Much more important.
So one of the producers did send in this clip. This is a clip I'm really starting to appreciate. I've always liked the show Superstore.
Oh, is that where you shop? Is that where you shop?
Superstore is really a sitcom about people working within a big box store.
Okay.
And it could be Walmart. It could be anything.
Okay, good. Yes, I remember. Yeah. They had the whole Halloween thing that we played a clip of.
They had the Halloween thing. They do a lot of stuff like that.
I remember.
The show does this stuff pretty well. Now, this one here, he sent it in saying, hey, is this a native ad? Because it sounds like one for Amazon. And it's possible that it is. But on the other hand, it does also brings up the dilemma of the big box store versus Amazon. And let's play this clip. We can talk about it.
Hello there. I just want to say thank you for supporting local retail instead of shopping online.
To be honest, I probably would have bought this on Amazon, but I needed it today.
Well, you know they have same-day delivery, right?
Okay, nobody asked you.
Wow.
Don't you have to pay for Prime?
Oh, it's totally worth it. You get free shipping plus movies, music. We've got music. Just go check out our CD selection. It's all on clearance.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Especially making the store guy sound like a moron. Oh, we got this bill. Wow.
Well, that guy.
Stop it. Now stop it. I'm giving it to you.
Clip of the day.
Oh, man.
Okay. That dumb character is the store manager.
Of course.
And he is a dumb character all the time.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. This is in the pocket, 8-ball, corner pocket, boom, native ad, no doubt about it. Amazon is a part of their deal for the Virginia location. By the way, the helipad is apparently there was some post 9/11 rules that you're not allowed to have a private helipad or something. Doesn't mean you can't land, but no private helipads. But Amazon, according to the contracts that have been sleuthed and reported on the Sosh Nets, they will get a heads up a couple of days if a FOIA request is incoming, which makes nothing but sense, seeing as that they are now in Spook Central, being the cloud storage for Spook Central. And it's probably more just, hey, I know you guys got a lot of our spook shit. It's going to take a while to find this one, so they get a heads up on it or whatever.
And I should mention the latest WikiLeaks release, because I went and visited the page to look it over. Mm-hmm. They have apparently somebody's spilled the beans on their on all the servers that Amazon owns and where they're located.
Okay.
And it's quite a fascinating map.
Oh, you mean spook stuff, military stuff, intelligence stuff?
Apparently most of the, maybe there's some servers not on this map. They got them all, but there's about 20 of them right around there already.
Right.
Around Spook Central. But go on.
Back in the day, I'm talking 1992, when I registered MTV.com, I did it through a company called Digex. And Digex was in Reston, Virginia. Then they were above a Chinese restaurant. That's where MTV.com first started, on a Headless Sun 3. And, just with some real basic stuff. And a Gopher demon. And I remember... Gopher. I remember talking to those guys. Gopher. Robert Seastrom, who I think is muckety muck at ICANN now. These guys were the very beginning of the internet. And they were really proud because Digex, they basically provided one of the very first hosting providers. They said, oh, yeah, we host all the black boxes, the government black boxes. And I thought that they were talking about CIA or FBI or maybe NSA. No, they say the real black boxes, the real dark shit, the guys who are really bad actors is FEMA. They are the ones that have the black boxes and scary stuff at the exchanges. Of course, I never followed up on it after that, but they were a couple of times I heard about FEMA. Yeah, FEMA, man, they're doing stuff. Maybe one of our dudes named Ben can corroborate. Let us know if they're in a.
Well, they haven't done
center.
Anything yet.
Well, that we know of.
The FEMA camps.
Yeah. No, these guys were talking FEMA before Alex Jones. In 92. Just a quick OTG segment. Some talk now about after that report that the judge ordered Amazon to hand over any recordings that Alexa might have. Now people are showing up and saying, "Hey, it looks like both Google and Alexa have filed patents to listen for other things besides the wake word, for mood or maybe a certain type of voice level or, different triggers that they want to employ."
Why does anybody have one of these things in their house?
That's a good question at this point. People are stupid. But in our OTG lifestyle, I have to say I'm going to have to recommend that everyone pay for cash when you're buying fuel.
No one is safe. I'm talking about those video screens popping up on gas station pumps. Beware. You may stand in a stupor and watch the screen. You can't avoid them. But it is also watching you. Here and Now's media analyst John Carroll is here. Hi, John.
Hi, Robin.
And so you understand this started with 5 screens, an experiment in Texas, and it has now exploded.
It certainly has. It's a company called GSTV, and they have screens and ads in 18,000 gas stations in 200 markets across the country. So in 2014, they had 2,600 gas stations, and they customized them to neighborhoods so that you would basically be steered toward businesses in the location of the gas station. Somebody said it was less like TV and more like billboards.
Yeah. So they're selling, that's one thing. But now they're collecting data and selling. So tell us more about that.
Right. So they just introduced this data analytical system called Octane. And what it does is it tracks your transactional, your geolocation, your online consumer behavior. So basically, they are able to tell pretty much where you're coming from and where you're going. So they have your credit card, so they know where you live. They can tap into your smartphone to find out what gas station you're at. They crunch together online activity. And so basically they're able to figure out what would be the best ads to target to you at that particular time.
This is so frightening. So they know where you are, but they also claim that they can show the effect by looking at all this data. They can show the effect of the ads on the screens.
Right, because they can track where you go afterwards. So for instance, you're filling up your car at 6:15 p.m. They know you're close to home. They know you go to Wendy's fairly often. So they send you a coupon from the local Wendy's, which is 4 blocks away, and they say, go in and we'll give you a free order of French fries, and then they can track whether you go in or not and pay with your credit card.
So these two people, just to start off with the analysis, are retards. They are completely stupid. Is this really the first time they've ever heard this capability? And this guy uses, our technology reporter uses terms like they crunch all the number from your social activity. It's really very technically inept. But
glitch.
Yes, you do have to consider that punching in your, because I use a credit card, punching in your zip code isn't helpful. But it's this credit card thing, man. The credit card, that's the weak spot in all of this. But it's so hard to live without, well, I mean, any kind of card. You don't want to use a card, but you still have to use cards for things. It's the weakness. That's where OTG fails.
Okay. That was a lame report. The people were just naive about all this stuff.
Yes.
And I'm some of these things I just don't fully understand. For example, if they know the guy goes from the store to the gas station to Wendy's before he goes home, why can't they give him a coupon for Wendy's? He's already going there. They're losing money. They're losing money on this deal because he probably goes there to buy something. They know what it must be because they get his credit card receipt for the Wendy's. And so they're going to give him a free French fry when he already buys French fries, or they're offering him an apple pie?
I don't know.
They better find out. Wendy's is getting ripped off in this deal.
Yeah, see, there's your opportunity right there. It was a lame report.
It reminds me of I think they shouldn't even do the Wednesday. They should give him a big, giant coupon to go to Burger King. And the reason I suggest that, if they know he goes to Wendy's, because there used to be a play that was on the grocery. There was a company that did this. This ended some years back, but it was going on for a number of years. You'd go to a grocery store, and they had this little coupon printer.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it works, I asked them about it. I asked one of the guys about it. How does this work? Why am I getting these coupons for these things? So you go to the grocery store, and you buy whatever you buy. A coupon would come out of the thing for your next shopping time. And so the sales guy, the guy who sold these things, he said, well, here's the way it works. You buy a 6-pack of Coke. A coupon for a 6-pack of Pepsi comes out. And he says you buy a 6-pack of Pepsi. And he said once we had that established, then we go to Pepsi and say, hey, look what these guys are doing. They go to Coke saying these guys are getting coupons of Pepsi.
Of course, that's where you make the money.
You got to counter this.
Of course.
Buy the same process, and we'll give up. They just reverse everything. So if you buy Pepsi, you get a coupon for Coke, and that's what they were doing. They were doing this double dip thing where you'd sell one company, and then you'd go and sell the other company on the same process. So it all evened out. Nobody was making nobody's making out on this thing except for the guys in the middle that had this coupon printer. I guess one of these days somebody figured out it was useless, and so they stopped buying these deals, and that was the end of the coupon printer. But these things are like, this is a scam that's been notorious for years.
Is the official pronunciation coupon or coupon?
We pronounce it coupon here in the California region.
Okay. I think anyone who is on 4chan will call them coupons.
Coupon.
If you're on 4chan, you're a couponer. No, I've always heard coupon, that's all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we say coupon, I think. I do anyway.
There's a little news. Yes. Little news from back home, from Texas. It seems like Bitcoin mania is coming to the Lone Star State.
Well, it didn't get Amazon HQ2, but the small town of Rockdale, Texas was chosen for what some people say will be the largest Bitcoin mine in the country. The Chinese company Bitmain plans to build a data center that is expected to bring hundreds of jobs to Rockdale. And as Paul Flav of Texas Public Radio reports, the town is no stranger to booms and busts.
In 1952, the Saturday Evening Post ran a story called The Town Where It Rains Money about Rockdale. Just 2 years prior, the Central Texas town's coal mine had been closed and Rockdale's future uncertain. So how did it go from being on the ropes to awash in cash?
This is aluminum.
The Aluminum Company of America, Alcoa, moved to town. It found the area's plentiful lignite coal could power their aluminum smelting. The Texas State Historical Association estimates 300,000 tons of the cheap, dirty stuff was burned in the company's power plant each year. Last year, the coal power plant that had been limping along closed. Between the smelter and the plant, 1,700 jobs were gone. Charles Miles owns Miles Styles in downtown Rockdale, a barber shop surrounded by more than a few empty storefronts with 4 rent signs hanging. He's lived here all his life and is on the school board for the district his 6 children attend. Yeah. Miles says the area may be turning a corner, though.
They say history repeats itself.
Vincent Sorrells looks on as Miles cuts a customer's hair. He was a crane operator at Alcoa before he got laid off. He went back to school to become a barber, but that isn't working out how he thought.
There's no businesses really here. Well, they still ain't picked up enough of me. So Bitcoin coming here just might bring people. I mean, I can't pay the bills, 1 cut a day.
Bitcoin Despite the hopes and optimism of what Bitmain could provide, Sorrells, like many here, doesn't know what they do.
No, sir, I don't. I mean, people come in and ask. I'm like, I never heard of it. I looked it up online even. I still couldn't get a grasp of it.
The whole report, which is about 4.5 minutes, they never once said the reason they're there is to fire up the smelter for cheap electricity.
They're going to burn that crappy coal in that area?
Yes.
So this town is between Austin and College Station.
Yep.
Also south some distance from Waco. So it's in like the Austin-Waco College Station triangle is right in the middle.
Yes. And
I didn't know that was coal country.
I don't know if it's coal country, but I know that they have a smelter. Is there there must be a railroad.
He said it was coal country. He says the smelter was put there because of all the cheap lignite in the area, which is the world's worst coal.
There you go. America. We're letting the Chinese come in to burn shitty coal in Texas. It's fantastic for Bitcoin.
The downwind is almost right Austin. Straight to College Station.
Oh, College Station? Oh, the down. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That is pretty much the way that it would blow. Well, if College Station gets wind of it, look out. Those guys are.
Yeah, hey, you guys in College Station, you know what's going on? It's the University of what it is that they're Rice.
No, that's the Aggies, man. That's A&M. That's the Aggies.
A&M.
Yep.
And well, they're Aggies. They don't know what they're doing.
They're made of coal.
They're going to be breathing a lot of horrible fumes from that place if they don't get their act together and put a stop to it.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Of course, I shouldn't be critical of College Station. They was one of the few areas that had a PBS station that would play the software Hard Talk when I was doing public radio.
Oh, it was one of
the major subscribers.
One of your affiliates.
It was one of my top affiliates.
Well,
and some of the smartest people are in College Station, surprisingly, so they'll put a stop to this. You watch.
Yeah, but
Sir Dirtbag Dave needs to be thanked, and so I'm sorry. Let's back up. People to thank for producing show. 1087.
And also, please, everyone in Austin knows that everyone in College Station are not as smart as we are in Austin. Everyone knows this. Sorry, I have to keep that feud going. I can't buckle.
Well, have the feud. Actually, Austin has a feud with everybody.
Hook 'em horns!
Dame Sarah Lobach, $150.33. November is a triple play month. Cheers.
No, triple payday month, she said.
Sir Dirtbag Dave in Concord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stefan Ehret in Fellbach, Deutschland, 33 squared. Best regards from Germany, 10890.
He's ahead of the game. He's ahead of the game.
90.
He's the first one in.
Stephen Baker, $100. Patrick Coble, Sir Patrick Coble out there in Tennessee. Travel Karma, thank you. We'll put that at the end for you.
Yep.
Sir Luke, the Baron of... I want to mention this to all the dudes named Ben. Again, I was looking at the wiki page.
Yeah.
There is there was a bunch of documents and releases of some crazy codes. It's like the second newest thing that's up on the page, including a bunch of user manuals for this it's like a controlled virus that you can control using some technologies, and you can put it in all these routers. And I guess the CIA was doing that, and
that's
especially
interesting.
The Latvian routers,
that's
which are very popular in Europe.
Mm-hmm. I actually have. Remind me. I have a clip about your router.
My router?
No. It's a clip. Ion Cyber.
Okay. Anyway, Sir Luke, the Baron of London, $100. Sir Josh Mandel in Greenville, South Carolina, $80. Great newsletter, he writes. Nobody caught the Easter egg, I guess.
I clicked on a couple things.
What James Camlow.
Hold on, John.
Ohio.
What was the boob? What was the boob Easter egg?
The boob, I believe, is that woman in green screaming her head off.
Oh, of course. It's a trick one because you put it in so often. No one would think to click it.
Right.
It's not very inviting to click. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I do use her a lot because she's great.
Yeah, she's one of the best. She's a classic. She's going down. I mean, there should be one of those Iwo Jima-like statues of her.
Yeah, it's just underneath screaming.
Yeah.
James Camlow is 66 from Eastlake, Ohio. I did say Josh Mandel, $80 in Greenville, South Carolina. James Camlow in Eastlake, Ohio. 33 from me, 33 from 230 the dog.
Yoo-hoo!
Michael Kimmerer in Bothell, Washington, 6119.
Is this on the list?
Happy birthday to a smoking hot wife coming up.
Yes. Yeah, she's on the list.
William Alston in Baltimore, Maryland. The show's great. He says he recommends tvtropes.org. Check it out.
For tropes, yes.
Von Glitchka. $55.55. Dean Roker, $55.10. He's in the UK. Michael Weidinger, $55. He is in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
We need more Czech Republic listeners.
Thank you for your courage.
Beach View Farm in Oak Harbor, Washington. Sorry for being a douchebag for so long.
No, because you got to de-douche it.
You've been de-douched.
I slave away on a farm working too hard for not enough money. If I can donate, so can all the other douchebags out there. You know who you are.
He's got a point.
Yeah.
Andrew Davis in Yarraville, Victoria, Australia. Sam Godwin in San Jose, California, 50. These are all $50 donors, name and location, if applicable. Jessica Stobie, Micah.
Yes.
Or Micah.
Micah. It's Micah.
Micah Miller in Bethel, Pennsylvania. Home of Bethlehem Steel, or was, I think. No, maybe not. John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. Eric Mackey in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Joel Daroon.
Oh, there's a blast from the past.
Yes, he's been on giving money now and again in Savannah.
Okay.
Savannah,
I don't remember.
One of the greatest little towns to visit you can ever imagine.
It's pretty, very pretty.
Yeah, lots of hanging moss. Duluth Zanguzen in Bellevue, Washington. Scott Lavender in Montgomery, Texas. Brad Taylor in Duval, Washington. And last but not least, Jonathan Reisman in parts unknown. 73s.
Yes, he's Sir Jonathan of the double-bladed paddle. You know, that's CW, baby.
Double-bladed
CW
paddle,
right
Sir
there.
Jonathan.
But his call sign got mangled by PayPal.
Yeah, I see that.
It's Kilo Echo.
I think he used one of those zeros with a line through it. So it's probably KE0 something HT. 73s.
Yeah, it's probably Kilo Echo 0 Hotel Tango. Well, 73's Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie Charlie. And your call sign, Mr. Dvorak?
Yeah, KJ6 LNG. Kevin Johnson, 6 liquid natural gas.
It rolls off the tongue. Bad QSO, old man. OM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, H's.
Yeah.
A-hole.
No.
A-A-H.
No, OM is ham speak for old man. That's what you always say. You say OM.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing that should be eliminated. The ham should be excoriated.
It should be eliminated.
And besides that, stop. It's redundant.
Dvorak.org/. /NA.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
Yay!
You've got karma.
Yes, today is the 18th of November, 2018. We've got 2 birthdays on the list. Always happy to celebrate the birthdays. Amanda Stewart says happy birthday to her husband, Tyler. He turns 32 today. And Mike Kemmerer says happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Laura. She celebrates tomorrow. And, of course, we all say happy birthday here from all the staff and management at the best podcast in the universe. Oh. The band stopped for some reason. Okay, and we do have one knighting today, so you can put down the kazoo.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it. You couldn't see you had it there. Ellie Zainown, which I'm not sure I'm pronouncing correctly, but that doesn't matter because we're about to give you a royal name as you are now entering the round table of the No Agenda Knights and Dames. Thanks to your contribution, the amount of $1,000 more, and I'm therefore very proud to pronounce the KC, Sir Hummus from the Middle East. And yes, you are a black knight, my friend. For you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys and Chardonnay. By your request, hummus and Iraq cookies and vodka. We got boba and stinky tofu, English muffins with butter and honey, Brazilian hotties and kashaga. We got cowgirls and coffee varnish, breast milk and pablum, ginger ale and gerbils, bong hits and bourbon, and mutton and mead. All of that available for you today exclusively at noagendanation.com/rings. You go there and you enter in your details, your deets, as the kids say in the Sosh Nets, and Eric the Shill will send off your ring and your sealing wax and your certificate as soon as possible. And thank you for supporting our podcast. It's value for value. It's really your podcast. Dvorak.org/NA.
So Iraq, if anyone wants to know, is the anise-flavored distilled spirit.
Ooh, right.
It's like pastis, and it's like the stuff they have in Greece. It's all the same.
Yes.
All these different things. But it's French, would be pastis, would be very similar.
There's a company.
Anyway, go on. I'm sorry. Absinthe.
That's
Ouzo.
I'll bet you, yes, Ouzo.
Sambuca.
Sambuca. Well, we need to try. Have you ever tried this this drink?
I think so.
Iraq?
Yeah, it tastes like Sambuca.
Probably.
It tastes like Ouzo.
So someone's like chicken. Someone sent me an ad. I think it's real. It's probably even funnier to see the video with it, but it's at first you think it's a takeoff of a big pharma ad, but it's actually, you realize that in enough states in the United States, this could be a real ad and it could be a real company.
Sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes the weight of the world can be too much to bear. Sometimes you need to stop worrying and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need cannabis. Introducing Brightside, high-quality cannabis delivered right to your door. Brightside offers an extensive menu of strains and products to meet your needs. Choose the experience you want, and we'll send you the dankest herb. The real sticky icky. Some top-shelf marijuana. If you like what we send you, keep the whole jar. We'll even include some nugs for you to blaze. As part of Discovery, you'll get to try new strains and products. Side effects may include euphoria, increased appetite, uncontrollable giggles, elevated sensitivity to musical dopeness, and reduced anxiety. Tetrahydrocannabinol may also induce feelings of existential well-being and relentless optimism. With a Brightside subscription, you can get it once a month, once a week, or whenever you want. All at a price you'll like. And yes, this is a real company.
Do you know who I am? You're the wizard.
Ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. It probably is. Keep it Brightside.
I think it's real, actually.
Huh. I mean, it could be. I mean, it has elements of a hoax.
Yeah.
But it also has, what's it called? Brightside.
Brightside. Yeah, Brightside.
Brightside ad. There must be something on the net saying whether it's real or not.
What I could see.
Brightside everything.
Yeah. It's a weed delivery service.
Delivery ad mocks Big Pharma.
Yeah. But let me just see where it's available. No, brightside.com. I mean, they are. I think it's real. Yes, I just don't know where they're available. That I couldn't find so quickly.
But brightside.me.
Yeah, no, this is a real company. No, brightside.com. Brightside.com.
No, brightside.me is something else.
Yeah.
You should talk about taking a deep breath. We don't want to do that around here. We still have the smoke.
Oh, yeah.
I should mention this. I need an update. And, Mimi went to...
by the way, John, brightside.com currently available in California. So you could order from them.
The ad. So you go around now that like every Yahoo out there is wearing some sort of a cheap mask thinking it's going to help them from breathing through the smoke.
You mean like the Twitter picture of Jason Calacanis with the 3M high-end gas mask?
What is he doing with it? There's no smoke down there.
You got to see him. You got like the top of the line gas mask, 3M filters on both sides, like he's working.
Yeah, just wear a Scott Air Pack,
like he's working for FEMA.
So she goes to the vegetable market, and all these local yahoos are there, old ladies mostly wearing the mask. Yeah. And she says that the lines have slowed down because they wear the mask. They're all wearing the mask, and they're at the front of the thing where they're asking questions. And she says it sounds like this. And so all these Chinese checkout people are going, what the? I can't understand you.
They're like butters.
I can't understand. Don't understand. And so this is like this typical situation around here, these idiots.
They're like butters on South Park.
Yeah.
I can just see it. Oh, man. Oh, yeah.
So
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, your turn.
Oh, I was going to say the eye on cyber about the router bug.
Yeah, okay.
CBS has this segment. I can't believe you've never seen this. The CBS Eye on Cyber, where they tell you what to do with your router.
On CBS or CBSN?
No, CBS, not CBSN.
If your router gets infected with spyware, it can put your entire home network at risk.
I mean, just listen to this. Like, you're going to love this read. And also, the instructions. Do you have a pen and a piece of paper? Because you're going to need you're going to have to write down a lot of information what this helpful Eye on Cyber is going to teach you.
Everything from laptops to smartphones, anything that uses Wi-Fi. Experts say that too often, people are not taking the critical steps to secure routers, like changing the default password to something that's difficult to guess.
I mean, right there. Whoever thinks of changing their default password? I mean, you and I do, but no one else does. And did people even know how to change their default password? No.
Even if you have a router with a strong password from your cable or phone company, it may be vulnerable. The software the company uses to connect your router to troubleshoot problems remotely can also be a backdoor for hackers, security experts say. If you have a home office, you should be especially careful. In May, the FBI issued a warning to all owners of small and home office routers about an attack targeting those devices. The group carrying out the attacks is believed to have ties to a Russian intelligence agency. The same one that U.S. intelligence says attacked the Democratic National Committee in 2016.
That's the same guys.
Fortunately, the fix...
They're in my house, in my router.
...was easy. Turn the router off and then on again. So what can you do to keep your router more secure? Use a web-based...
This is fantastic advice. It's no problem. Just turn your router off, turn your router on. I have a feeling that there's a lot of malware that would love to have it be turned off and turned on so it can insert itself properly. You know what I mean?
Tool that can tell if your router is infected.
Definitely.
Place your router as close to the middle of your home as you can, so its signal can't easily be intercepted from outside. Register your router with the manufacturer and request alerts for firmware updates, and install those updates when available. Finally, given the pace of technology, it's also smart to replace your routers every 3 to 5 years because manufacturers
like a mattress
often stop providing security updates for older devices. With an eye on cyber, I'm Siobhan Gorman.
All right, Siobhan, thank you very much for your eye on cyber. That was really enlightening. I'm going to go do all that right now.
So I'm looking at the.
You're still on Brightside, aren't you? You're trying to order some edibles.
No, I'm looking at the Vault 8 Hive.
Oh, that one. That's a good one.
The source code repository related to the CIA Project Hive. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, I would like to get some people looking at this wiki stuff to see what's going on with these particular.
Now, which are you talking about? A specific dump or just wiki stuff?
No, there's
in
a
general?
bunch of stuff. This Vault 8 has got all kinds of stuff.
It's been around for a while, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I didn't realize what it was doing. It had because nobody ever no reporters could be looking at this stuff ever look at wiki to get any information because since they've signed on with the CIA, they can't do it. It's like it's illegal,
right?
So they can't look at wiki. Oh my God! If I do that, I get fired.
Oh yeah, you can't read from it. Yeah,
a good amount of money.
That's right. There's a senator in Australia, Barry O'Sullivan, and he's kind of at the end of his political career, and so he doesn't give a crap. I think he even says it in this clip. Have you seen this guy? He goes, whatever happened, I think it was about abortion, because, of course, the same conversations that we have in the United States, which dominate global news about everyone being a racist and let's see, abortion and gun law, all of these same conversations are taking place everywhere. There's gun violence every day in the Netherlands. 2-3 people getting shot and killed. Australia, they have issues with race. They have issues with abortion. It's all the same concepts, all the same topics, just put into a local context.
Yeah, it's a globalist agenda.
It truly is. And this guy, he's so sick of it, he just lumps everything in that he can think of, right down to declaring his gender as a woman.
They are so far to the left, you wouldn't find them if you had 2 pairs of bifocals on at the same time. It is outrageous. They want to increase the dole for unemployed people so they can buy more drugs and ice so that they can avoid going to jobs. They want to treat that. No, that's their position, Senator. They've made it clear here during the week in debates around issues to do with minimum wages and the like. They want to take the tracker dogs away from festivals and carnivals that are there to test people for drugs. Where we want safe environments, public environments, where people can go, where people on ice and all sorts of things are not participating in large crowds, causing havoc. These are these people. These are these people. They won't be happy, Mr. Acting Deputy President. They're all sucking on tofu made from dry grass, laying around all day, waiting for the Commonwealth to send some money into their bank account so they can go and do whatever they like.
Uncle Duo.
I am tired of being attacked when I stand up and speak about some issues around strong values that are the strong values I still believe of the majority of Australians. You cannot say the word abortion without being attacked by this mob of almost, I'd say grubs if I didn't think you were going to make me withdraw it, Mr. Acting Deputy President, but it's out there now. These people come and attack me for my religious basis the other day, using words like rosary beads, because I had the audacity to raise issues around late-term abortions, where babies that are only minutes away from getting a smack on the arse and a name being aborted under the policies of the Australian Greens. So I will not stand silent. I will not stand mute while these people try to continue to marginalise policies and ideas that we want to discuss for this nation that I think are largely supported still by the majority of the nation. I'm going to declare my gender today as I can to be a woman, and then you'll no longer be able to attack me. It is despicable, the behaviour of these people, and for them to come in here with the freedom that they do and just that vomit, that vitriol that comes out of their mouths, it needs to be called out.
And end of career.
Well, this is the reason that Trump wants Pelosi in there as the Speaker of the House, which means she's also the head of the Democrats in the House. They need somebody because of the group that's come in, the full of themselves crowd, is nothing but trouble for the country, let alone for the Trump administration.
So you're actually equating Australian politics to U.S. politics. Interesting.
Well, I'm just equating it in this regard. We agreed a few statements ago that this is part of the globalist agenda.
Yes.
So there is some equation.
So he wants some protection. He wants some protection against the AOCs of the world who are going to just come up with all kinds of time-wasting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't blame him.
Yeah, I agree. Well, also, I think he and Pelosi can actually get something done. Yeah, she does want to get... Now, the person we can't get anything done with is Kamala Harris, who... I'm going to play this clip. It may be out of context, so because I didn't see the whole C-SPAN grilling of this ICE representative with Kamala Harris of California. But here's how it went down, at least the piece that I have.
Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between
I'm talking about perception.
Officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
I see no perception.
Are you aware that there's a
that
perception?
Puts ICE in the same category as the KKK.
That's pretty deep what she's doing there.
I don't know. I couldn't figure out what she was doing.
Oh, she basically said, is the KKK a terrorist organization? And he says, yeah. Is it a domestic terrorist organization? Yes. What kind of tactics do they use? Well, fear and intimidation. Is that the same as ICE? That's pretty much what she was doing there.
Yeah, false equivalencies. That's a good trick when it's done right.
Yeah, but I don't think she was doing a good job of it.
No, I don't think she's that talented. I think she's gonna run for president.
She's overrated. Do you think she's really going to run? Do you really think she's going to do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, really? You know who else just said he was going to run was the big head guy, the petite male, although I don't think he's that petite. Swalwell, he was on Bill Maher's show.
Swalwell's the worst. Yeah, that guy. He's one of those guys you just look at him and you want to slap him for no reason.
I didn't pull any clips because his problem is he's actually just boring. But he comes from Iowa. Both his parents are Republican. I mean, he has an interesting backstory, and he was kind of likable on Bill Maher's show, but just boring. The guy's just boring. And whenever he talks on CNN or anyway, he sounds idiotic or just unhinged. But I don't know. I'm not. One thing's for sure. Here's what the folks on MSNBC think of a possible Hillary Rodham Clinton run.
Meanwhile, Sandra.
Hillary Clinton. There's more? Will she or won't she? Mark Penwright says, get ready for Hillary Clinton 4.0. More than 30 years in the making. This new version of Mrs. Clinton, when she runs for president in 2020, will come full circle. Back to the universal health care promoting progressive firebrand of 1994. True to her name, Mrs. Clinton will fight this out until the last dog dies. She won't let a little thing like 2 stunning defeats stand in the way of her claim to the White House. By the way, the White House has responded.
Kellyanne Conway, here's the tweet. Dear God, please, yes.
Who can blame her?
Well, running?
I don't think so. I mean, who knows? But let me say this, speaking as a Democrat here at the table, there's no, we have an uphill battle no matter what to get to 270 in 2020, as evidenced by.
So you don't want her to?
Well, no, please. I've never been a huge fan of the beginning.
You read the piece from Stein and Mark Penn. Do you agree with it?
No. Just go away.
Okay.
Just go, please, Hillary Clinton, let somebody else take the mantle.
I think she's running again, and I think it's...
Go away, Hillary Clinton. They really don't want her.
They can't do anything about it. She still owns the machine.
Yeah, I agree. She's
the
run.
machine that she used to run the first 2 times is still intact.
I agree.
And the second time, it was a bigger machine. She got all the way to you should have won the presidency in most circumstance.
Yeah.
And she felt gypped. And so she said, I'm keeping this machine together.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep the money in a pile. And she kept the money in the machine and everything. There's no way anyone can beat her.
Yeah. Except Trump.
And Obama's not giving up his machine. He's got that an organization or something to organize America, whatever it is.
Yeah, Organizing for America.
Organizing for America, OFG. He's got a machine that's just keeping for himself. I don't know. He's just a money-making machine of some sort. Yeah. Huge. Apparently, he has the biggest mailing list of all the Democrats.
Well, he got it from Facebook.
Probably. He got a lot of it from Facebook.
All right, John, play us out. One more.
I have my last clip, and this is the clip that I thought, this is my Canadian. This was said to me, okay, you're going to start collecting Canadian stuff because the Canadians, they like to listen to the show, and they never get anything for them. They'll be sorry, but that's what they're going to get. So apparently the Canadian government's decided to treat the entire population like kids in grammar school.
Okay.
So if you're like a worker working in some factory and you're sick and throwing up, you may be required by law to get a doctor's note to take one lone day of sick day, take a sick day off. And I'll mention that when I worked for the government, you took all your sick days off, whether you were sick or not. But as my supervisor once said to me, just take it off as general malaise.
The Canadian Medical Association lashed out against a government bill that would let employers require a doctor's note whenever a worker wants to take a sick day. The CBC's Catherine Cullen looks at who's fighting that change and who welcomes it.
The pain in the neck to have to do it.
Dr. Iris Gorfinkel doesn't like sick notes or the proposed law that means she could be writing more of them.
What that will do is increase the number of patients I have to see in a day to provide those work notes. And then on top of it, those patients may be exposed to diseases in my office while waiting for a note.
About a year ago, when Ontario's Liberals passed a law that would hike the minimum wage, they included a provision that entitles everyone to 10 personal leave days, including 2 paid sick days, and said employers can't ask for a doctor's note. The Ford government is reversing the Liberals' plans.
It's a job killer.
With a pro-business law that would eliminate paid sick days and allow employers to ask for doctor's notes if they think it's warranted.
Sick notes, I shake my head.
Today, a national doctors group has come out against the move.
I think the reinstatement of sick notes puts an unnecessary burden on people who are already sick. And I think it really raises the risk of spreading colds and flus.
But some employers groups called for these changes, saying the sick days were being abused. In a letter to the Ford government, the Retail Council of Canada said, our members are seeing significant evidence that the 2 paid personal emergency leave days are being widely treated as floater days off, i.e. de facto vacation days. This labor lawyer applauds giving employers the option of asking for a note.
People who deserve the benefit of the doubt invariably get the benefit of the doubt because employers don't want to be paying for sick notes. Employers don't want to be aggravating their employees.
Ontario's Economic Development Minister didn't have any specific response to the Medical Association's concerns, but a spokesperson reiterated that sick notes are a workforce and attendance management tool. The final vote to turn this plan into law could come next week.
Get a hall pass, slave. Fantastic. That's not new in a socialist government. The Netherlands has had that as long as I can remember. If it was more than 2 days, you had to get a sick note from your doctor. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, no, it's all right. It's coming to the U.S. too, baby. Just wait for it.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
Has to happen.
But it is the way it works because people who know that people are just sitting at home and aren't really sick and are getting handouts, they get pissed off, they report them.
2 whole days a year, by the way. 2 whole days a year.
Yes. Well, there you go. It's a scam. The motto of the day. But it only works when you say it.
It's a scam.
And coming to you from the Loft and Ladder in the Garden of Amsterdam, I will be back in Austin, Texas for the Thanksgiving show, live show, where we will explain the history of Thanksgiving as is tradition. Until then, in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's smoky, I'm John C. Dvorak.
Yeah, we return on Thursday with another edition of the best podcast in the universe with more deconstruction than you can shake a stick at. Until then, adios, mofos.
Donate to a No Agenda. They give ushers week after week. Donate to a No Agenda. It's a show that's really unique. Donate to a No Agenda. Listen to John and Adam speak. Donate to a No Agenda. Science is turning into a clique.
To be our priority and our agenda as we go forward.
Say hi, everyone.
I did what I wanted to do. I was blessed to have that opportunity.
They've been blessed with a lot of privilege.
Let's for a moment honor it as a legitimate question. Although it's quite offensive, but you don't realize that, I guess.
I know for a fact that a lot of women, gender-expanding people, people of color, working-class people, they don't run for office because they don't feel perfect enough.
And then we talked about a for the people agenda. For the people, we will lower healthcare costs, we will grow the paychecks, and we will bring integrity to government.
And I get a folder with my ID, like a college ID.
That's really a very big, almost a tsunami. I don't know. We'll see.
Your clothes are stinky all the time because you never have time to do laundry. So
they say, you know, she's too old. She should step aside and let them do fun. So, okay.
We don't have time.
I would help Nancy Pelosi if she needs some votes. She may need some votes. I will perform a wonderful service for her.
Say to everybody, come on in, the water's warm.
Now what?
So you're suggesting that everybody step aside?
I've been getting into some trouble this week. I think it's good trouble.
Battling their male counterparts on both sides, okay?
We don't have any more time left to fix the world. We can't act like we do. We need to fight. See ya!
If you're gonna spray, get some cooks.
By the way, it's called popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club. Popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club.
Crystal, Dom Perignon, Dom.
Popping bottles. Popping bottles in the club.
If you're gonna spray, get some cooks.
It's called bottles in the club. Popping bottles. Popping bottles.
Dom Perignon, Dom.
Bottles in the club. Bottles in the club. Popping bottles in the club.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Oh my God, can you see that, Zephyr?